Chapter 728. He's here. The vice president of the Warrior Association, Wuxia, who was leading the elites in a bloody battle beside Jiang Kunlun, was first stunned when he heard Jiang Kunlun's surprised exclamation. Then, his pupils dilated as he stared at the air pressure shockwaves 5 to 6 kilometers away that seemed to have been formed by a nuclear bomb. A name instantly flashed through his mind. Xinghui. Xinghui. The Supreme King Xinghui. It's King Xinghui. He's here. He's finally here. The deputy commander of the fortress, Qi Jun, let out a cry of relief. The members of the Hornless Dragon squad who had fought side by side with Xinghui were even more ecstatic. We're saved, we're saved. King Xinghui is here. We're saved. Amidst everyone's exclamations, Xinghui, who had just landed, leaped up once again. The Scarlet Abyss sword vibrated at high speed in his hand, rapidly compressing the air, forming a visible white sword glow. This white sword glow tore through the air with a deafening explosion, killing all the creatures in a straight line 3 to 4 kilometers in front of him, clearing out a path. The dire beasts that were slashed, regardless of whether they were Lord or Great Lord, Calamity, Annihilation, or even the despair-inducing Apocalypse, all exploded into blood foam as if they had been hit by a high-explosive bomb. Not even their bones were left behind. Too slow. Xinghui slashed out. Although he had killed hundreds of dire beasts, he was still not satisfied with this result. Sweeping his gaze, he once again focused on a group of dire beasts. Then, he leaped up and widened the distance between himself and the Jade Sea Fortress. Then, a scorching sun suddenly appeared in his spiritual world, Spirit Storm. The killing move with the greatest lethality, Spirit Storm. As the spiritual storm swept across, the spiritual worlds of all the ferocious beasts within a 10-kilometer radius were incinerated into ashes by the boundless destructive power. Be it ordinary ferocious beasts or apocalyptic-level ferocious beasts, they did not even have the time to cry out in pain before they silently fell to the ground and crashed heavily. Clear the field. This was a skill that could clear the field. However, Xinghui frowned after using this skill to clear the area. There was no doubt about the lethality of the spiritual storm, but this spiritual secret technique was not technical at all. It was almost equivalent to the Sword of the Glorious Sun. It condensed one's spiritual power into a point and burst it out. Not only did it have the disadvantage of attacking indiscriminately, but it also consumed a lot of spiritual power. If this were a regular battle, he would have been able to use the mental storm to clear the battlefield, but right now, there were just far too many vicious beasts charging over from the spatial tunnel of the Jade Sea. They were like mountains and seas, boundless as far as the eye could see. According to Qing Su's estimation, there were at least 1 million vicious beasts charging over. It would not be strange even if there were over 10 million. With a sweep of his spiritual storm, he could indeed clear out an area of more than 12 kilometers and wipe out all the vicious beasts within this area. However, it wouldn't be long before this area would be filled with vicious beasts again. At that time, how many times would he be able to use this kind of secret technique that consumed a lot of energy? The scariest thing about the vicious beasts is not their strength, but their numbers. At this moment, he had a new understanding of the vicious beasts in front of him. Xiao. A white sword ray formed from compressed air accompanied by the deep scarlet sword Qi once again plowed through 3 to 4 kilometers in front of him. Wherever the sword Qi went, the vicious beasts were annihilated. Even the powerful annihilation grade and annihilation grade vicious beasts could not withstand the might of the sword. Unfortunately, it was too slow. Even though he could kill dozens or even hundreds of ferocious beasts with a single slash through air compression and other means, when faced with the charge of millions, tens of millions, or even tens of millions of ferocious beasts, he was still like a lone boat in a storm. He could only watch as the ferocious beasts circled around from several dozen kilometers away, crossing the Jade Sea Fortress defense line and charging deeper into the human world. My efficiency is too low if I'm alone, Tsing Hui slashed out again. After clearing out the vicious beasts in front of him, he already felt the problem. The only area of effect attack I have is the spiritual storm, but the consumption of the spiritual storm is too great. In this situation, if I had the Six Suns world-suppressing art of the illuminating world gate, I would definitely be invincible. Unfortunately, Tsing Hui muttered to himself. Countless thoughts flashed through his mind as he pondered on how to deal with this vicious beast tide. After a moment, an idea suddenly flashed through his mind. Although I don't have a divine ability like the Six Suns world suppression art that can suppress an entire continent, I still have an area of effect offensive skills. Apart from the spiritual storm, I also have another technique. That is the 49 Great Sword Chi that I just obtained from the Shu Mountain Grotto Heaven. The 49 Great Derivation Sword Chi was formed with Tsing Hui's essence, Chi, and spirit as the foundation. Because it lacked the element of Chi, its power was weak and not worth mentioning. It was far from being comparable to Tsing Hui's casual punch. However, to kill a group of vicious beasts that were at most class 6, with his tyrannical physique that was equivalent to a class 10 holy beast, why would he need to concentrate on a single punch? Didn't you see that the sword chi he slashed out could kill Lord class, Great Lord class, Disaster class, Annihilation class, and Annihilation class vicious beasts? The Dian sword chi was useless against class 10 and even class 9 ferocious beasts, but if it was used to kill class 6, class 5, or even class 4 and class 3 ferocious beasts, it could be said to be completely easy and unstoppable. Phew! Tsing Hui let out a long breath. The chi and blood in his body were guided by his spirit's power and immediately condensed in his 49 acupoints. As his aura continued to slide down, blood-red longswords were condensed by him and floated in front of him. Soon, there were 49 swords. However, these 49 blood-red longswords were forcibly condensed by Tsing Hui and were almost never nurtured. They only had the basic ability of the 49 Great Derivation Sword Chi. In terms of power, each sword of Chi and blood could barely kill class 8 vicious beasts. It should be noted that the classification of vicious beasts was different from that of humans. 49 transformative realm human warriors were naturally superior to a golden elixir realm cultivator, but this was not necessarily the case among vicious beasts. Not to mention that Tsing Hui himself was equivalent to a class 10 holy beast. Therefore, condensing 49 swords of chi and blood that were difficult to kill class 8 vicious beasts not only did not increase Tsing Hui's combat strength, but it also divided and weakened his combat strength. However, the sword chi technique that had slightly reduced his combat strength was just right to be used in the midst of the endless attacks of the ferocious beasts. Go! Tsing Hui used his mind as a guide. Light shot out from his eyes, and immediately, the 49 swords of chi and blood turned into streaks of blood-red light that shot toward all the vicious beasts within the range of his mental senses. These swords of chi and blood were extremely pure and condensed. Let alone ordinary vicious beasts, even the scales of apocalyptic-level vicious beasts would be like paper in front of them. They would be pierced through in a single blow. Although the quality of the vicious beasts on the battlefield had increased significantly, they were still far from the level of apocalyptic-level vicious beasts that could be seen everywhere. At best, they were at the level of the vicious beasts near the spatial passage on the southern shore of the Mediterranean Sea. The only difference was that there were more of them. Under such circumstances, none of the vicious beasts could resist his 49 swords of chi and blood. They instantly swept up a bloody storm among the vicious beasts. Powerful Lord class, Great Lord class, Disaster class, Annihilation class, and Apocalyptic class vicious beasts were easily killed. Even the larger creatures were not spared by the swords of chi and blood. The Great Expansion Sword Chi condensed by Tsing Hui was not as simple as just sharpness and speed. When they shot into the vicious beasts' bodies, they vibrated intensely and erupted with high-frequency shock waves. The effect was basically like detonating a bomb in the vicious beasts' bodies, instantly reducing the vicious beasts' bodies to bloody pulp. What was the point of having the vicious beasts' bodies and ferocious appearances when their bodies had already been shattered? All right. Tsing Hui used less than 10 breaths to kill all the vicious beasts within a 20-kilometer radius around him. He did not stop at all. Bending his feet slightly, he erupted with power and broke through the sound barrier like a cannonball, charging towards another battlefield densely packed with vicious beasts. At the same time his figure swept across the battlefield with a sonic boom, the 49 strands of Great Expansion Sword Chi swept through the blood-colored storm and crazily shot at the hundreds and thousands of ferocious beasts around him. If someone was watching at this moment, or if there were satellite surveillance, they would notice that as Tsing Hui's body passed by, there would be dozens of red lines wantonly slaughtering the vicious beasts around him at a speed that was beyond what human vision could capture. All the vicious beasts along the way were like wheat being harvested, crying out in pain and collapsing one after another. The speed was so fast that it was even faster than the Jade Sea Fortress that was stubbornly resisting. Clear the battlefield. This is a true clearing of the battlefield. Compared to this efficiency of clearing the battlefield, the spiritual storm that consumes a lot of energy can't be compared at all. Tsing Hui's body shuttled back and forth as he sighed from the bottom of his heart. Although the blood-colored Great Expansion Sword Chi would be depleted when it shot through the vicious beasts and pierced through their bodies, the depletion was almost negligible. Even if the Great Expansion Sword Chi's vital energy was greatly depleted, he only needed to absorb the Sword Chi back into his body and nourish it again. With the powerful physique of a 10th-class Saint Beast, the Great Expansion Sword Chi would be able to recover to its original state and return to the battlefield. Even though the number of ferocious beasts was innumerable, numbering in the millions, or even tens of millions, when swathes of ferocious beasts were slaughtered, the ferocious beasts still felt fear from the bottom of their hearts. After killing for an unknown period of time, even Tsing Hui with his 10th-class Saint Beast physique could feel his vital energy deteriorating rapidly. As his face faintly paled, the vicious beasts in the surroundings finally began to thin out. There were even some places where not a single vicious beast could be seen within a few square kilometers. When he sensed that the vicious beasts that were charging at the Jade Sea Fortress were retreating in panic and fleeing towards the spatial tunnel, Tsing Hui let out a slight sigh of relief. Then, the 49 Great Expansion Sword Chi that had mostly dissipated returned to Tsing Hui's body. With the replenishment of this vital energy, Tsing Hui's originally somewhat pale complexion recovered slightly. However, he still felt that his limbs were cold and his entire body was powerless. This was because he had exhausted too much of his vital energy. After all, the number of vicious beasts he had killed just now was truly too many. Even if he did not count them in detail, he did not need to think to know that it was definitely in the millions. It's about time. Tsing Hui slightly adjusted his vital energy and did not fly back to the Jade Sea Fortress. Instead, he maintained a constant speed while not using too much of his vital energy. Chapter 729. The beasts seem to have suddenly disappeared. Yes, the number of beasts coming from the front lines seems to be decreasing. What's going on? Could it be that this wave of beasts is finally over? Sigh, even if this wave of beasts is over, we have to evacuate from the Jade Sea Fort. We humans have no advantage in fighting the beasts within the range of the spatial interference. The only way is to retreat outside the range of the spatial interference and rebuild a defensive base. Only then can we continue to resist the attacks of the beasts. Atop Jade Sea Fort, the many soldiers and cultivators guarding the fort watched as the number of fierce beasts gradually dwindled. Soon, only a few hundred fierce beasts remained and all of them breathed a sigh of relief. With this relief, everyone felt a kind of exhaustion from the bottom of their hearts. They didn't even have the energy to cheer that they had finally escaped from this huge wave of beasts. Some people looked around at the comrades they had been talking to a few days ago, only to see them turn into cold corpses at this moment. They completely lost the mood to cheer, and those with weaker minds couldn't help but cry in pain beside their comrades. Gloomy clouds. When Tsing Hui returned to the Jade Sea Fort, he saw such a gloomy scene. Sighing inwardly, Tsing Hui went straight to the command center that Jiang Xingdao, Jiang Kunlun, Qi Jun, Wu Bieshan and the others had set up. The soldiers could rest after the ferocious beasts retreated, but the higher-ups had to redeploy defense and rescue plans, even though many of them had just finished fighting the ferocious beasts at the front line and did not even have time to change out of their blood-stained uniforms. Marshal, General, King Tsing Hui is here. A few of the higher-ups were discussing something when the guard at the door quickly came in and reported in an excited tone. King Tsing Hui is here. It's here, it's finally here. It's all thanks to the King of Green Ruins that our Jade Sea Fort was able to survive this unprecedented beast tide. Otherwise, our Jade Sea Fort would probably have been breached just like the Eternal River Fort, resulting in a bloodbath and a tragedy in the end. Quick, quick, invite King Tsing Hui in. No, I'll go out and greet him personally. Jiang Kunlun, Jiang Xingdao, Qi Jun and the others were overjoyed. They quickly put down what they were doing and went out to greet him. Marshal Jiang. Tsing Hui came to the command center and was about to meet Jiang Kunlun and the others, who were about to come out to greet him. He asked, Ancient Jade City should be fine, right? Don't worry, King Tsing Hui. Jade Sea Fort has been here all this time. Although many beasts have managed to get past our Jade Sea Fort and enter our defensive zone, there are only a few of them. We haven't let any of the Annihilation-class beasts pass through. Without an Annihilation-class beast leading the way, there aren't many of them. The nearby cities also have powerful defenses. I don't think the beasts will be able to do much. Ancient Jade City is very safe. You don't have to worry about that, King Tsing Hui. Ancient Jade City's defenses are no weaker than a main city's. Between Ancient Jade City and Jade Sea Fort, there is the Ecliptic main city's defense line. The beasts won't be able to get to Ancient Jade City. Everyone knew why Tsing Hui had asked about Ancient Jade City, so they quickly responded. Qing Su nodded. Compared to the Jade Sea Fort, the Ancient Jade City could already be considered as inland. He believed that there would not be too much danger there, which was why he had chosen to come to the Jade Sea Fort as soon as he learned about the vicious beast's rampage instead of the Ancient Jade City. What's going on? Why did a beast tide suddenly erupt? It's not a beast tide. A bitter smile appeared on Jiang Kunlun's face. If it was a beast tide, although it's dangerous, as long as we can force the invading beasts to retreat, we can still take back the territory we lost. However, the situation this time is much more serious than the beast tide outbreak. After saying that, he looked at Tsing Hui with a helpless expression. This phenomenon. The spatial passageways have expanded again. The spatial passageways have expanded? Worldwide. Yes, all the spatial passageways around the world have expanded. What's even more helpless is that the number of spatial passageways has increased again. Now, excluding the spatial passageway at Mount Dongyang, the number of spatial passageways has reached 16. 16. Yes, 16. The only fortunate thing is that only one of these 16 spatial passageways is linked to our Huaxia region. Moreover, that one's location is a little special. Jiang Kunlun sneered when he said that. A little special? Yes. It's Ryukyu Main City. Ryukyu Main City. When Tsing Hui heard that, he understood why Jiang Kunlun had such a reaction. Ryukyu Main City was the island of treasure during the Huaxia region's national era. When the Earth Federation divided the regions, Ryukyu Main City tried to get the approval of the Federation government to designate Ryukyu Main City as the Ryukyu district. However, the higher-ups of the Huaxia region tried their best to stop them. Unfortunately, although Ryukyu Main City did not receive the same treatment as the Ryukyu district, it only belonged to the Huaxia region in name. Economically and politically, Ryukyu Main City was still independent. That's good. Our Huaxia region is quite lucky this time, but the Yinhe district is in trouble. The Eternal River stronghold has been destroyed, and the spatial passageway that was originally only 600 kilometers in radius has expanded to 1,600 kilometers. In addition, a new spatial passageway has opened less than 1,800 kilometers away from the Eternal River stronghold. The two spatial passageways have joined together, and the entire Yinhe district has almost fallen. It's not just the Yinhe district. The Tsar district is also in a terrible situation. Two of the new spatial passageways are located in the Tsar district, and the original spatial passageway in the Tsar district has expanded more than twice its original size. Even if the Tsar district has always been strong, facing such a sudden change, I'm afraid it will be very dangerous. I think we should all be prepared to be transferred to the Tsar district to assist in the defense. After all, once the Tsar district has fallen, these ferocious beasts will definitely continue to head south and rush into our Huaxia region. This is not the most terrifying thing. 7 years ago, the spatial passageway expanded once, forcing our civilization on Earth to be fully prepared for war. Now, only 7 years have passed, and the spatial passageway has expanded again. The living space of our civilization on Earth has been greatly reduced. If the spatial passageway expands for the third time in another 7 years, I'm afraid half of the Earth will be covered by the power of space interference. When that time comes, where can we hide? Jiang Kunlun, Jiang Xingdao, and the other higher-ups in the command room with the rank of general were worried. However, even Qin Su was unable to give an answer to this question. The law of space, it was too mysterious. As the divine tree that imprisoned Earth gradually dissipated, the heaven and earth origin energy would return to Earth, and many laws would gradually appear. However, this was something that would happen in a few decades. According to the law of the spatial passageway expanding once every 7 years, human civilization would probably be completely wiped out in the fourth expansion of the spatial passageway. Unless, retreat to the Kunlun and Mount Shu paradise. Or even find a way to stabilize and expand the transmission array between Mount Dongyang and the Fortune continent, and then directly retreat to the divine wilderness. 7 years is actually an ideal number. Originally, according to the data collected by the scientists, we would need to wait another 42 years. That would mean a total of 49 years before the space tunnel would expand again. But more than 20 days ago, the data changed. The time it would take for the space tunnel to expand was greatly reduced. It was shortened from 42 years to 18 years. But even 18 years would be good. With the existence of the flesh and blood essence of many vicious beasts, after 18 years, we humans would be able to produce many Lord-class warriors. Those talented people might even be able to reach the level of the annihilation-class vicious beasts. When the time comes, we can increase our numbers. With the help of many modern weapons, we might be able to fight the vicious beasts. But we don't even have 18 years. The space tunnel expanded 4 days ago, which caught us all off guard. Jiang Kunlun sighed heavily. Right now, we still don't know if there will be vicious beasts above the apocalypse level after the expansion of the spatial passageway. Let's not be so pessimistic for now. Wu Biashan comforted. In the end, he looked at Xinghui and said with a smile, "Besides, don't we still have King Xinghui on our side? As long as King Xinghui is still alive, these vicious beasts will not be able to do anything to us in the Huaxia region." When Jiang Kunlun heard Wu Biashan mention Xinghui, his mood recovered a lot. He forced a smile and said, "That's right, we have King Xinghui on our side. We saw the scene of King Xinghui killing the vicious beasts just now. It was really amazing. Wait a minute." At this time, Xinghui was thinking about the 2 pieces of data that Jiang Kunlun had mentioned earlier. You said that according to the data obtained by the scientists, the spatial passageway would expand again in 42 years, but because of the change in the data 20 days ago, the time has shortened from 42 years to 18 years. That's right. The spatial passageway expanded 4 days ago. Do you have a specific time? The specific time is around 3 in the afternoon, it's 3:16, Qi Jun added from behind Jiang Xingdao, at 3:16, there was a spatial disturbance on our side. 3:16 in the afternoon, Xing Hui felt a chill in his heart. If he remembered correctly, when he took the fortune jade from the divine tree in the Shu Mountain Grotto Heaven, causing the anti-magic seal on the divine tree to gradually disappear, it was also at that time. Could it be, the seal on the divine tree in the Shu Mountain Grotto Heaven was not to imprison Earth's civilization, but to protect Earth's civilization? To prevent Earth's civilization from being detected and invaded by alien civilizations? And because I activated the fortune jade for the first time to teleport, Earth's civilization was immediately targeted by a certain force, so that force broke through the seal on Earth's civilization and opened up several spatial passageways. And 25 days ago, I teleported back from the divine wilderness, so, the efficiency of those forces breaking through the seal on Earth's civilization greatly increased. Thinking of this, Xing Hui suddenly felt a chill in the bottom of his heart. He seemed to have he had committed a grave mistake. Chapter 730. I need the detailed data from the scientists. Xing Hui said in a deep voice. Jiang Kunlun noticed Xing Hui's solemn expression and immediately became serious. I'll have them send the data over immediately. After saying that, he asked, what happened? Could it be that, there will be a new round of changes in the space passage? I can't confirm it for the time being. I need to get the data before making a judgment. Send the data directly to Ancient Jade City. I need to go there. Ancient Jade City. King Xing Hui. Currently, other places are being attacked by dire beasts. At this time, when Jiang Kunlun heard that Xing Hui was about to leave, he immediately opened his mouth as if he wanted to ask him to go to the other fortresses to help. Xing Hui did not stop walking outside. I need to ensure the safety of Ancient Jade City first. Or, have you found the person I'm looking for? Looking at Xing Hui who was quickly leaving, Jiang Kunlun opened his mouth but finally sighed. At the same time, he turned to Qi Jun, you haven't found the person yet? We have spread the news that King Xing Hui is looking for Miss Jiang Ningji to every corner of the world. It can be said that any settlement with more than 100 people has heard this news. However, so far, no one has been confirmed to be Miss Jiang Ningji. Therefore, we estimate that Miss Jiang Ningji is most likely dead under the influence of the dire beast disaster over the years, Qi Jun said with a gloomy expression. Most likely dead. Jiang Kunlun sighed. Jiang Kunlun sighed. He understood that this was unavoidable. Earth's civilization was invaded, and countless people were displaced. No one was spared. Not to mention Jiang Ningji, many kings and presidents of small countries had lost their lives in the impact of the dire beast disaster. The King of Green Ruins may be powerful, but there are far too few people in the entire Earth civilization who can affect him. There's only Qin Yuming, and he doesn't care about anyone else apart from Qin Yuming. Without any restraints, he naturally doesn't care about anyone else. It's naturally much more difficult for us to borrow his strength to repel the invasion of the Ferals. The reason he's willing to save us now is because he's a member of the Huaxia region, and we've helped him many times in the past. This matter isn't just about him, right? The invasion of the dire beasts was related to the life and death of the entire Earth civilization. If the entire Earth civilization was destroyed by the invasion of the alien civilization, and he was the only one left, even if he was still alive, what was the point? Don't tell me he doesn't even understand this. Wu Bieshan from the Warrior Association said angrily. Jiang Kunlun glanced at Wu Bieshan and said after a moment of silence, aren't you all curious as to how Monarch Xing Hui has such terrifying power? When Jiang Xingdao heard Jiang Kunlun mention this question that they didn't dare to touch before, he couldn't help but be shocked. Could it be that, the speculation over there has been confirmed? It's only a possibility, but it hasn't been confirmed yet. After all, some of his actions are really incomprehensible to us. For example, if he has really joined the alien civilization that invaded us, then there's no need for him to help us defend the Jade Sea Fortress and kill the beasts in the fortress. Could it be that the alien civilization doesn't have the power to resist us? Impossible. Jiang Kunlun shook his head. According to our observation of Tsing Hui's strength, our Earth civilization can't do anything to him. He doesn't have to worry about the possible retaliation of our Earth civilization. This is also why many scientists have clearly confirmed this problem, but they didn't dare to announce it. Even, the upper echelons of the parliament didn't dare to discuss this issue in detail or even make a decision. Damn it! How could this be? Monarch Tsing Hui, who can save the world in our hearts, is actually. A trace of pain and even despair flashed in Jiang Xingdao's eyes. If even Tsing Hui came from the extraterrestrial civilization and became their hired thug, then would the Earth civilization still have a way to survive? Alright, the situation hasn't deteriorated to the final stage yet. After all, according to the various traces, while the Green Ruins King might be involved with the extraterrestrial civilization, his actions are not completely aligned with the extraterrestrial civilization. As a result, we still have hope. Therefore, you absolutely cannot mention this to the Green Ruins King or anyone else. Otherwise, if you are careless and force the Green Ruins King to the camp of the extraterrestrial civilization, it will be a great disaster that the entire Earth Federation cannot endure. Jiang Kunlun warned with a solemn face. When the others heard this, they immediately shivered and agreed. They naturally understood the seriousness of the matter. Marshal, since Monarch Tsing Hui may have that identity, why should we give him the data related to the expansion of the space channel? At this time, Qi Jun asked, somewhat puzzled. Jiang Kunlun fell silent. After a while, he slowly said, you must remember one thing. Before Monarch Tsing Hui completely betrays the Earth civilization and goes against humanity, he is the only martial arts monarch of our Earth civilization. This point cannot be changed by any doubt. Although the Jade Sea Fortress was built on the first line of defense against the Jade Sea Space Channel, the higher-ups of the Wuxia region had obviously considered the problem of the Jade Sea Fortress being breached. Therefore, between 100 and 300 kilometers away from the Jade Sea Fortress, 3 lines of defense were built. Naturally, the scale of these 3 lines of defense could not be compared to the Jade Sea Fortress, but they also had powerful defensive capabilities. The number of troops stationed at these places was in the millions. Under such circumstances, although the ferocious beasts broke through the Jade Sea Fortress's line of defense, only a small number of them were able to kill their way to ancient Jade City. In addition, as a large city, ancient Jade City also had strong defensive capabilities and garrison troops. The ferocious beasts that attacked ancient Jade City in 2s and 3s did not have time to cause any real damage to the city before they were wiped out by the local garrison forces. However, even with that being the case, when Qin Su arrived in the city, he could clearly sense the presence of fear that filled the entire city. Tsing Hui fell silent for a moment. His right hand subconsciously reached into his pocket. When he returned from the divine wilderness world, he had considered the possibility of Earth having an anti-magic environment. After all, he had learned a lesson from Dongqian. Therefore, when he bought many treasures and put them in his personal space, he also carried 3 items with him. These 3 items were the Scarlet Abyss Sword, the Unfallen Flower, and a bottle of soul-refining pills that could strengthen one's physique and extend one's life by 60 years. With his status, the quality of the pills that he could collect was naturally not bad. There were a total of 10 soul-refining pills that could strengthen one's physique and extend one's life by 60 years. The effect, it could strengthen a mortal's physique to the level of a Class 6 dire beast. If it was someone with a strong foundation, it would not be difficult to strengthen their physique to Class 7. This degree of strengthening was nothing in the divine wilderness world. After all, even a Class 7 dire beast was at best equivalent to a true energy boundary powerhouse. It was nothing in front of Tsing Hui, but in Earth's civilization, that would be incredible. It should be known that the strongest martial artists in Earth's civilization were only comparable to a disaster-level dire beast. A disaster-level dire beast was a Class 4 dire beast. Human martial artists could fight against a disaster-level dire beast not because they had a Class 4 physique, but because they had excellent equipment and exquisite martial arts skills. In addition, the so-called Class 4 dire beasts of this world did not possess many of the mystical abilities of the divine wilderness world's dire beasts. They could only use pure physical strength. This allowed these Class 3 humans to defeat Class 4 disaster-level dire beasts. If Jiang Xingdao and the others were to take these 10 soul-refining pills, their combat strength would definitely surpass that of an apocalypse-level dire beast, and they would be able to fight against a leader-level dire beast. If some talented people broke through to Class 7, it would not be an extravagant hope to easily kill a leader-level dire beast. Although Earth's civilization was in a dangerous situation before, those dire beasts were still within the Earth Federation's ability to deal with. Therefore, he naturally did not want to contribute these soul-refining pills for nothing. He only promised to give one to whoever found Jiang Ningji as a reward. But now, the spatial passage expanded again, and the pressure on the Earth Federation skyrocketed. In addition, he vaguely knew that the invasion of Earth's civilization by dire beasts was most likely related to him. He had to make some decisions. I have to choose a few talented people. Otherwise, the spatial passage this time has greatly damaged the vitality of human civilization. When the spatial passage expands again, humans will definitely not be able to resist. Xing Hui thought to himself, and then sensed his father, Qin Yiming. Because the people of ancient Jade City were in a panic, Qin Yiming was holding a meeting to discuss the matter of calming the people. Xing Hui was silent for a moment and did not disturb him. He only decided to wait until he was done with his business and let him practice martial arts a little. Although Qin Yiming was not a martial artist, he could get a soul-refining pill with his identity. As for the rest, wait a minute. Whoosh! Xing Hui's figure flashed and landed at the ancient Jade City Research Institute. Not long after entering the Research Institute, President Kubi, his assistant Havril, and Shi Chui and Sima Xing, who were already stationed here to help him deal with some trivial matters, came out to greet him at the same time. King Xing Hui, thank you for your help. If it were not for you, I'm afraid that the Jade Sea Fortress would not have been able to hold on. On behalf of all the people of the Wuxia region under the protection of the Jade Sea Fortress, we sincerely thank you for your help. When Shi Chui and Sima Xing saw Xing Hui, they bowed respectfully at the same time and thanked him sincerely. No need to be so polite. I may not care about the other regions for the time being, but I still remember that I am a member of the Wuxia region. Xing Hui waved his hand and glanced at Shi Chui and Sima Xing. He organized his words and said, there is one thing I need to tell you. The Warrior Association, the local government, and the military can each choose 10 people to come to my place for assessment. If their strength and talent are satisfactory to me, I can personally teach them martial arts cultivation and help them break through to a higher realm. Chapter 731. Teach them martial arts and help them reach a higher level. Shi Chui and Sima Xing were shocked. They immediately realized the importance of the opportunity in front of them. They couldn't help but be happy. King Xing Hui, please don't worry. We will arrange it immediately. If King Xing Hui is willing to teach them, it is their honor. I believe that none of the warriors in the Warrior Association will miss this opportunity. Yes, go and arrange it. The people I want to teach must have both strength and talent. You should understand the situation of the Earth Federation. If they have talent but no strength, even if I teach them, they may not be able to grow in a short time. Of course, if they are very talented, it is fine even if they are weaker. Do you understand what I mean? We understand. King Xing Hui, please don't worry. The people we choose will not disappoint you. Sima Xing solemnly agreed. I don't want there to be any backdoor issues. This matter concerns the life and death of Earth's civilization. Once I detect any problems, I won't give any pointers to the 10 people you've selected. Shi Chui and Sima Xing quickly promised. King Tsinghui, please don't worry. No one will dare to interfere with this. Otherwise, they will be the sinners of the Earth Federation. Tsinghui nodded. Has the Research Institute sent the data regarding the expansion of the space tunnel? It has been sent. King Tsinghui, please follow me. Kubi quickly went forward and respectfully led the way. They quickly entered the Research Institute. Shi Chui and Sima Xing looked at each other after Tsinghui left. They smiled and said, "This is great. If King Tsinghui helps, the Wuxia region will have many more elites. Perhaps it won't be long before there are warriors who can fight the annihilation class beasts. Unfortunately, there are only 30 people. That is too little. Sigh. Let's report this as soon as possible. President Sima Xing, we have to be strict about this. We will not allow anyone to do anything. Don't worry. I understand the seriousness of this matter. If something goes wrong and King Tsinghui is disappointed, we will not have the chance to be taught by him. Yes, we will report this matter." Shi Chui and Sima Xing were both people who could reach the heavens. Their news quickly fell into the hands of the great governor Lv Zhongyuan, the president of the Martial Artist Association Ran Donglai, and the marshal of the Huaxia Military Department Jiang Kunlun. After receiving the news, the few chairman-level figures who stood at the very top of the Huaxia Council immediately called for a small meeting in private. On one hand, they wanted to choose a suitable candidate. On the other hand, they ordered that the Research Institute's data and the speculations that the Green Ruins might be related to the extraterrestrial civilization be sealed up. No one was allowed to use them easily. Tsinghui's behavior model, psychological model, and other data that had been established by many experts, perhaps Tsinghui was really related to the extraterrestrial civilization. However, at least everything he had done so far was on the side of the federal government and the Huaxia region. Therefore, unless he really announced that he was leaving the Earth civilization, no one was allowed to destroy the relationship between Tsinghui and the Huaxia region, or even the entire federal government. Tsinghui didn't know about these high-level meetings. At this moment, he had put all his energy into reading the data on the expansion of the space channel. The more he read, the colder his heart became. After he spent a whole day reading all the information, he felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. Sitting in his seat, Tsinghui's face was a little pale. However, he had experienced a lot in the divine wilderness, so he quickly forced himself to calm down. Things had already happened. The most important thing now was not to blame himself, but to find a way to make up for the mistakes he had unintentionally made. The anti-magic enchantment supported by the divine tree was responsible for protecting the earth, so that the earth would not be exposed to the dangerous universe forest. Because I took away the creation jade that provided the energy, the enchantment supported by the divine tree had a change in energy and a gap appeared. This allowed the extraterrestrial civilization to sense the opportunity and expand the space channel, allowing more and more powerful beasts to invade the Earth. Tsinghui thought about the information he had read about the Eternal River Stronghold. During the battle at the Eternal River Stronghold, hundreds of apocalyptic beasts and 24 leader-level beasts appeared. It was because of these leader-level beasts that the Eternal River Stronghold was defeated. And according to the strength and number of beasts he killed in the Mediterranean Sea Space Channel, there should be real king-level beasts on Earth. However, there should be very few of them, no more than 10. Moreover, they should be hidden near the space channel to protect the safety of the space channel. According to the latest data, the next expansion of the space channel should be in 38 years. However, because esteemed Zhu Zhao will open the teleportation array to take me to the divine wilderness in a year, according to the previous data, 16 years. The time limit for the expansion of the space channel will be shortened to 16 years. In other words, before I go to the divine wilderness, I must return to Earth within 16 years. Otherwise, Earth will definitely be plunged into misery and suffering during the third expansion of the space channel. At that time, not to mention the other space channels, just the Jade Sea Space Channel's spatial interference range will reach more than 5 million square kilometers. In addition to the space channel in Wuxia main city, it will already cover 3/4 of the Wuxia region. This is not the most terrifying factor. The most terrifying factor is that when the space channel expands, stronger beasts will descend. Once the stronger beasts arrive, the king-level beasts will walk out of the spatial interference range and join the attack on the remnants of human civilization. At that time, Earth's civilization would be in danger of being destroyed. In the 16 years in the divine wilderness, I have to cultivate to the realm of world creation with a thought. Only then will I be able to destroy this constantly expanding spatial passageway and block the extraterrestrial civilization outside the magic ceiling enchantment supported by the divine tree. Tsing Hui's heart sank. Moreover, this was not the end. The anti-magic barrier supported by the divine tree had lost the continuous supply of energy from the fortune jade. It would collapse in 50 to 60 years if it was fast, and 100 years if it was slow. At that time, even if he destroyed the space channel, without the anti-magic barrier of the divine tree, Earth's civilization would be completely exposed to the attacks of the extraterrestrial civilization. Tsing Hui sensed the perfectly round fortune jade in his spiritual world. He could see the existence of the creation divine jade, but he could not move it at all. If he could, he really wanted to move this piece of creation divine jade out of his spiritual world and turn it into the energy source of the divine tree. This way, he could permanently exclude these extraterrestrial civilizations from the anti-magic barrier and ensure the safety of Earth's civilization. Unfortunately, there was nothing he could do. President Tsing Hui. Seeing that Tsing Hui had not flipped through the information for a while and seemed to be resting with his eyes closed, Haverl, who was acting as his assistant, whispered. Tsing Hui tilted his head slightly. Haverl took a deep breath and said in a trembling voice, Military Commander Lord Jiang Kunlun, Great Governor His Excellency L.V. Hunyuan, and His Excellency Ran Donglai of the Warriors Association rushed to our ancient Jade City 2 hours ago to see you. What do you think? When do you want to see them? While speaking, there was a deep sense of awe in her eyes. Even though she thought that she already had a sufficient understanding of this elder brother that had appeared out of nowhere, she still didn't expect that this elder brother's influence and status would actually be so great to such an extent. Commander-in-Chief Jiang Kunlun, Great Governor L.V. Zhongyuan, and President Ran Donglai, these 3 big shots with the greatest power in the Wuxia region, had personally come to ancient Jade City to see him. When they learned that he was busy flipping through the information, they did not want to disturb him and were willing to wait in the conference room outside. It was simply beyond her imagination. Are they here? Where should I see them? They are now in the conference room in the Research Institute. Okay, take me there. Tsing Hui said and stood up. Led by Haverl, he walked toward the conference room. The conference room of the Research Institute was naturally not high-end, but now, it was strictly protected. Although the soldiers did not think that anyone could hurt the big shots in the conference room because of the presence of top powerhouses like Jiang Kunlun, Jiang Xingdao, and Ran Donglai, these soldiers still loyally performed their duties. Soon, Tsing Hui had already arrived outside the conference room. Outside the conference room, after all the elite guards saw Tsing Hui, the leader of the guards with the highest cultivation, shouted loudly, "Salute!" Pa! Immediately, all the guards looked at Tsing Hui with a solemn expression and raised their hands to salute. This was their respect for Tsing Hui for saving the lives of hundreds of thousands of soldiers in Jade Sea Fortress. As soldiers, they did not know too many fancy words. They could only use this action to express their gratitude and respect for Tsing Hui. Seeing this, Tsing Hui also became a little more dignified. He returned the salute and then walked into the conference room through the door opened by the leader of the guards. The conference room was not big, but there were more than 40 people standing there at the moment. It looked a little crowded. When Xing Hui came to the conference room, all the people who were talking and busy all looked at Xing Hui. Even Great Governor Lv Zhongyuan, Warrior Association President Ran Donglai, and Military Commander Jiang Kunlun stood up immediately and greeted him, King Xing Hui. Your Excellency Great Governor, President Ran Donglai, Marshal Jiang Kunlun. Xing Hui nodded slightly at them, sorry to keep you waiting. No, with the contributions King Xing Hui made in Jade Sea Fortress, waiting for King Xing Hui here is what we should do. Lv Zhongyuan said solemnly. Jiang Kunlun also stepped forward with a solemn expression. According to the cleanup over the entire day, we have calculated that in the battle yesterday, the King of Green Ruins killed more than 2,370,000 ferocious beasts below calamity level, 9,662 calamity level ferocious beasts, 504 annihilation level ferocious beasts, and 32 apocalyptic level ferocious beasts. Not only did they save our Jade Ocean Fortress, but the blood essence of these ferocious beasts can also help our civilization create thousands of Lord-class martial artists, hundreds of great Lord-class martial artists, and more than 10 disaster-class martial artists. Chapter 732. If a martial artist wanted to quickly increase their cultivation, the best way was to consume and refine the blood essence of powerful vicious beasts. However, due to the problems of digestion and conversion rate, a martial artist who could fight against a lord-level vicious beast would usually be able to break through in 1 to 3 months after consuming 2 or 3 disaster-level vicious beasts' flesh and blood essence. After consuming 20 to 30 great lord-level vicious beasts' flesh and blood essence, they would be able to break through in 5 to 10 years. As for the lord-level vicious beasts' flesh and blood essence, the effect was negligible. If one wanted to break through, whether it was the amount of flesh and blood essence needed or the time spent, it was calculated in hundreds of years. At present, Xing Hui had killed nearly 10,000 disaster-level vicious beasts, more than 500 annihilation-level vicious beasts, and 39 apocalyptic-level vicious beasts. In a short period of time, it would not be difficult to create 3,000 to 4,000 Lord-level martial artists, 200 to 300 great Lord-level martial artists, and a dozen or so disaster-level martial artists. Disaster-level martial artists are at the third order. Xing Hui could understand Jiang Kunlun's cautiousness and gratitude. He already had a plan in mind. After returning to the divine wilderness this time, he had to do his best to collect a large number of pills that could strengthen the physique of cultivators. Although body refining was not popular in the divine wilderness, and the soul refining pill was a top pill that could prolong one's life, this did not mean that there were no pills that could allow one to have the physique of a 7th order or even an 8th order for a short period of time. Although the number might be small, as long as he could use his current status as the strongest expert in the divine wilderness to find ways to collect them, he would be able to collect some in the next 10 years. Even if the number was not large, he could prepare more pills and create a large number of 5th and 6th order powerhouses. This would allow humans to last longer in the process of fighting against vicious beasts. Who are the selected people? Xing Hui looked at the 40 or so people. King Xing Hui, the people are already here. Please take a look, King Xing Hui. Jiang Kunlun hurriedly said. As soon as he finished speaking, 30 people stood out from the crowd. These 30 people all had at least the combat power to kill lord-level ferocious beasts. In other words, their physique was at the first order. Among them, there were 4 experts who could kill disaster-level ferocious beasts. Jiang Xingdao, who was known as the legendary martial saint, was one of them. Among these 30 people, there were different ages. The youngest was only around 20 years old. Although he was only 20 years old, he had a steady and refined aura. He was obviously an expert from the military. In fact, 2 of the 4 Stage 3 powerhouses belonged to the military. Jiang Xingdao was one of them, and the other was the Federation General Feng Qianshan. He was also a famous old general, but because he was older, he was not as young and strong as Jiang Xingdao, so he was not well known. However, according to Tsing Hui's words, the higher the cultivation, the better. The military naturally pulled out this old general who was one generation older than Jiang Kunlun and Jiang Xingdao. You are all meritorious officials of our Wuxia region, heroes who fought against the ferocious beasts. However, my ability is limited, and I can't teach all 30 of you at the same time. Therefore, I will observe you in all aspects and choose those who I think are suitable to teach. If I offend you in any way during the process, please forgive me. Tsing Hui said with an indifferent expression. These military bigwigs, martial arts legends, and important people of high status looked at each other and stepped forward at the same time. King Tsing Hui, you can test us as much as you want. Now that you are willing to guide us in our cultivation, it is equivalent to being our mentor. Even if the mentor wants to punish, beat, or scold the students, it is also right and proper. We will not say a word. That's good. You may leave. In the next few days, continue to do what you are supposed to do, as long as you don't leave ancient Jade City. The only thing I can tell you is that from this moment on, the test has begun. Tsing Hui said. The 30 cultivators, who could be called top-notch figures anywhere, looked at each other in dismay, but they quickly retreated. King Tsing Hui, how are you going to test them? Aren't you going to test their cultivation? Jiang Kunlun was a little puzzled. No need. Tsing Hui's test method was obviously different from others' understanding. The soul refining pill's medicinal efficacy was overbearing, and it could easily create a peak powerhouse who could fight and kill a leader-level beast. Under such circumstances, what he really needed to test was the character, virtue, and loyalty of these people. As for their identity, power, strength, cultivation, and so on, it was not within the scope of his test at all. King Tsing Hui, in fact, we came together this time not only to select 30 elites for you to choose, but also to ask a presumptuous request. Currently, it is not only our Wuxia region that is in danger, but also the other regions, especially the Inha district and the Zar district, where the feral beasts are wreaking havoc. The Inha district is still relatively far away from us, but if there is a problem in the Zar district, those feral beasts will inevitably sweep over and enter our Wuxia region. Moreover, because of the Jade Sea Fortress, most of the people of our Wuxia region are concentrated in the north or south. If a large number of feral beasts really invade from the Zar district, the entire northern part of our Wuxia region will be plunged into an abyss of suffering. Therefore, we would like to ask King Tsing Hui to help the Zar district. Great Governor Hunyuan stood up and said seriously to Tsing Hui. After that, he stepped back slightly and bowed respectfully to him along with Jiang Kunlun and Ran Donglai. Zar district, Tsing Hui was silent for a moment. Earth was equivalent to his hometown. It was the place where he was born and raised. As a member of Earth's civilization, he naturally did not want to see Earth's civilization destroyed under the ravages of the dire beasts. Although he did not feel anything for the people in the Zar district, the entire Earth Federation was bound to be under tremendous pressure after the second expansion of the space passage. Although the powerhouses he cultivated could help the Earth Federation resist the invading dire beasts sent by the extraterrestrial civilization, it was better for the Earth Federation to be as strong as possible in order to prevent any accidents from happening in the 16 years he spent in the divine wilderness. I've consumed a lot of blood and chi fighting the dire beasts and need to replenish it. I'll rest for a day. After I recover my lost blood and chi, I'll head to the Zar district. Ask the Zar district to hold on for another day. Tsing Hui said. Hunyuan and the others naturally saw that Tsing Hui's face was faintly pale. Moreover, with the terrifying record of killing millions of dire beasts, no one had any reason to refuse him when he said that he needed to rest for a day. At that moment, the three of them bowed to Tsing Hui again to express their gratitude. I need the flesh and blood essence of the dire beasts. The level doesn't have to be too high. A disaster-level dire beast will do. Tsing Hui said. Yes, please rest assured, King Tsing Hui. We'll prepare these things immediately and get the best chefs to cook them. Shi Chui stepped forward and accepted the task at the first moment. Warriors were also humans. Once they overexerted themselves, they would need to consume a lot of meat to replenish themselves. Everyone understood this, so they did not hesitate at all when they heard Tsing Hui's request. Qin Su nodded and stopped talking to Shi Chui and the others. He did not even accompany the great governor, Lv Zhongyuan, the commander of the army, Jiang Kunlun, and the head of the Fighters Association, Ran Donglai. He directly made his way to the mayor's office. It was already late, but Qin Yiming was still in his office. There were many people in his office discussing something with him, and there were bursts of discussion coming from inside. Tsing Hui knew that his father, Qin Yiming, was an extremely responsible person. At this moment, he was entertaining guests, so it was inappropriate for him to barge in. Instead, he sat down outside and waited quietly. However, when this scene fell into the eyes of Shi Chui, who was in charge of trivial matters for him, he was secretly anxious. He quickly stepped forward and said, "King Tsing Hui, do you want me to go in and talk to City Lord Qin Yiming? You're now a respected person. Every minute and every second is extremely precious. Wasting your time waiting here is really no need. Let's wait." As Tsing Hui spoke, he began to close his eyes and rest. He relied on his powerful mental power that could cover the entire ancient Jade City to monitor the 30 warriors from the military department, the government, and the warrior association. At the same time, he mobilized the circulatory system in his body to replenish his energy. If he was in the divine wilderness world, where there was rich heaven and earth Yuan Qi, he could be like an ancient immortal, eating the wind and drinking the dew. He could absorb energy from the heaven and earth Yuan Qi to replenish his energy and easily recover the loss caused by using the Dian Sword Qi. However, the civilization on Earth was completely in a forbidden magic world. Even if the forbidden magic barrier was activated because of him, it would take at least a few decades or even hundreds of years to completely recover to the point where he could use Yuan Qi. This was also the reason why he had to consume the essence of the disaster-level dire beasts to replenish his energy. Fortunately, Tsing Hui and the others did not wait for long before the Secretary-General of Ancient Jade City, Zhang Zhanhong, saw Tsing Hui and Shi Chui. Seeing the two of them, Zhang Zhanhong hurriedly stepped forward and bowed respectfully. He immediately informed Tsing Hui. Only then did Shi Chui, who was anxiously waiting, breathe a sigh of relief. "Tsing Hui, why are you here?" Qin Yiming looked at Tsing Hui with a strange expression. He was still unable to accept the fact that his son had become an important figure who was on equal footing with Jiang Kunlun, the commander-in-chief of the military, in such a short period of time. "I have something to talk to you about. Father, I need you to take a leave of absence for a period of time. It is tentatively scheduled to be half a month." "No, ancient Jade City is busy right now. How can I take leave at such a critical time?" Qin Yiming shook his head. Shi Chui hurriedly said, "City Lord Qin, His Excellency the Great Governor has instructed that any order from Dean Tsing Hui must be completed as the highest political task. Therefore, City Lord Qin, please cooperate. As for your leave of absence, just leave it to me. I will discuss it with City Lord Feng. If you are worried that there is no one to handle the matter at hand, I can immediately arrange for someone to temporarily take over for you. When your matter is done, it will be handed over to you." Secretary Shi, this. Qin Yiming listened, hesitated for a moment, and finally agreed, "Okay, then I'll have to trouble Secretary Shi." After that, he turned to Tsing Hui, "What is it that needs half a month? Come with me, I'll explain it to you." Tsing Hui said. Even though Qin Yiming was not a true fighter, so using a soul-refining pill on him was a complete waste. However, Qin Su did not wish for Qin Yiming to be slain by a vicious beast that managed to slip through the net and kill its way into ancient Jade City. As a result, it was imperative for him to consume a soul-refining pill and possess a body as tough as an apocalyptic-level vicious beast. Chapter 733. Xing Hui stayed in ancient Jade City for a day before leaving. He mainly spent the day helping Qin Yiming refine the soul-refining pill after he consumed it. If it were not for this matter, he would only need half a day to refine enough ferocious beast's flesh and blood essence to recover his vital energy and blood, and then head to the Tsar's district. After a day's delay, the Tsar's district was already in a precarious situation, and Xing Hui finally flew toward the Tsar's district under everyone's gaze. As for the 30 people who were originally in the assessment, he temporarily left them in ancient Jade City. Once he arrived at the Tsar's district, he would definitely have to help the Tsar's forces carry out a massacre, so he would not have enough time to pay attention to their safety. Sometimes, when he needed to release a spiritual storm to kill a group of people, he would have to avoid them to prevent the indiscriminate spiritual storm from engulfing them and destroying their spiritual worlds. Along the way, due to the Wuxia region's greeting and the terrifying combat strength Xing Hui displayed in the Mediterranean Sea's spatial passage, everyone in the Tsar's district was looking forward to his arrival. When he flew past the Tsar's district, the Tsar's garrison cheered from the bottom of their hearts at the same time. When he arrived at the temporary defense line outside the two newly added spatial passages, the hundreds of thousands of troops stationed at the defense line let out earth-shattering cheers. The Siberian Spatial Passage. Xing Hui flew past the defense line without stopping for too long. Although there were many soldiers and martial artists at the Siberian defense line who were fiercely fighting against the endless stream of ferocious beasts, he did not pay too much attention to them. Instead, he directly crossed the Siberian defense line and headed in the direction of the spatial passage. Before his spiritual world had fused with the creation divine Jade, he was unable to locate the spatial passage based on the traces of spatial interference. He had no choice but to rely on the hornless dragon squad to lead the way. Now, however, his spiritual world seemed to have undergone a change under the subtle influence of the creation divine Jade. He had become extremely sensitive to precepts, vitality, and other things. Coupled with the fact that the barrier supported by the divine tree on earth was gradually dissipating and the appearance of precepts, he now had a brand new understanding of spatial fluctuations. After passing through the human resistance zone, he quickly arrived at the deeper regions near the spatial passage. The closer he got to the spatial passage, the more ferocious beasts there were on the way. When Xing Hui was less than 200 kilometers away from the spatial passage, there was almost no place that was not filled with ferocious beasts. Moreover, the quality of the ferocious beasts had increased from the ordinary areas where low-level and mid-level ferocious beasts were the most dangerous areas where high-level and lord-level ferocious beasts were the most dangerous areas. Most ferocious beasts were high-level and lord-level. Apart from a few ferocious beasts such as Jiang Xingdao and a few peak powerhouses who had the combat strength and ferocious beasts, high-level and lord-level. Moreover, high-level ferocious beasts and lord-level ferocious beasts dominated these areas, but it did not mean that there were only high-level and lord-level ferocious beasts. There were also plenty of great lord-level ferocious beasts. Occasionally, one could even see the silhouettes of disaster-level and annihilation-level ferocious beasts. "Let's start clearing the area," Xing Hui said. His figure that was flying through the void slightly lowered. Streaks of blood-red sword aura whizzed out from his body. A flock of hundreds of ferocious beasts in the lower layer of the void was directly crushed by the 49 streaks of blood-red sword aura. They let out shrill cries as they fell to the ground. It was as if a bloody storm was raining down from the void. After killing this flock of ferocious beasts, Xing Hui landed in the dense ferocious beasts below. His figure flew. Wherever he passed, the powerful ferocious beasts were all killed by the Dian sword aura. Not a single ferocious beast was spared. Even the disaster-level, annihilation-level ferocious beasts that gradually appeared were no exception. Flesh essence. After Xing Hui killed a wave of ferocious beasts, he paused for a while. This was not the Jade Sea stronghold. He did not need to use all his power to kill ferocious beasts in a hurry. Besides killing ferocious beasts, he could refine the flesh essence of the ferocious beasts. Although he could not cook it, and it did not have a good texture, it was enough for him to simply absorb the blood and refine it to replenish himself. Thinking of this, after Tsing Hui finished clearing the area, he chose a few annihilation-level ferocious beasts. He slashed out with the deep red sword. A powerful god's soul power penetrated into the annihilation-level ferocious beasts' bodies. He refined the flesh essence and refined the blood contained within to recover. Relying on this method, the consumption of his 49 Dian sword qi was instantly synchronized with the replenishment speed. It was even to the extent that after killing tens of thousands of ferocious beasts, he only needed to refine a portion of their flesh and blood essence to recover to his original state. Even if his killing efficiency was slightly slower, it was able to allow him to maintain his peak state at all times. A day passed by quickly. In this day, Tsing Hui could not remember how many ferocious beasts he had killed. The only thing he could be sure of was that the number of ferocious beasts he had killed was definitely more than the 2 million ferocious beasts outside the Jade Sea stronghold. The only problem was that this space tunnel had just been formed and had not been expanded. The strength of the ferocious beasts that emerged from it was not shocking. At most, it was at the same level as the Jade Sea spatial tunnel after it was expanded. In the end, Tsing Hui only found 6 annihilation-level ferocious beasts. It looks like the invasion of the ferocious beasts by the extraterrestrial civilization is also progressing step by step. Or rather, they are unable to open up the space tunnel too big in one go, allowing the ferocious beasts to enter. Tsing Hui stood in front of the space tunnel. The space tunnel's diameter was about 39 meters. It was slightly larger than the Jade Sea spatial tunnel, but it was not more than 40 meters. Tsing Hui carefully sensed the space tunnel's ripples of space tunnel. Compared to the last time, he was much more sensitive to these space tunnel's ripples. He could even use his mutated mind to slightly touch the existence of these invisible ripples. Tsing Hui tried his best to immerse himself in the rhythm of the space tunnel's ripples. When he felt that it was about time, he brazenly slashed out with the scarlet sword in his hand. The air was compressed, and the power collided. For the first time, ripples appeared in the space tunnel in front of him, as if it was disturbed. However, this kind of interference was too weak. It was as if a pebble had been thrown into a vast lake, and the ripples it created couldn't even affect a small corner of the water surface. Too weak, a trace of helplessness appeared on Tsing Hui's face. Unless the divine tree's anti-magic barrier completely disappeared and all the laws appeared, perhaps he would have a glimmer of hope to disturb the stability of this space tunnel, or even completely destroy it. Otherwise, he could only watch and sigh. By the time the divine tree's anti-magic barrier completely disappeared, only God knew how many space tunnels on Earth would have expanded and how many would appear. At that time, even if he had the ability to destroy the stability of these space tunnels, it would be like throwing a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. The strength of the ferocious beasts that would continuously appear would be something that even a cultivator with the physique of a 10th-order sacred beast like him would not be able to resist. I still have to place my hopes on the divine wilderness. If my comprehension of the laws of space is higher, and the strength contained in my physique is stronger, and my mental strength reaches a whole new level, I will definitely be able to cause significant disturbance and destruction to the space tunnel. At that time, destroying the space tunnel would no longer be an extravagant hope. Thinking of this, Tsing Hui did not waste any more time. After solving the problem of the space tunnel, he directly leaped up, and with a deafening sound, whistled towards the horizon. At this time, the guards stationed outside the space tunnel could clearly feel that the number of ferocious beasts was decreasing. When night fell, the number of ferocious beasts attacking their line of defense had been reduced to less than 100, and most of them were ferocious beasts below the Lord rank. Without needing to confirm this change, the higher-ups of the local guards had already guessed that it must be the doing of King Tsing Hui, who had descended on this space tunnel a day ago. For a moment, the word king suddenly resounded throughout the line of defense. After killing most of the ferocious beasts in this space tunnel, Tsing Hui did not rush towards the second newly formed space tunnel. He had already understood that although the newly formed space tunnel was a threat that caught everyone off guard, the strength of the ferocious beasts that emerged from the space tunnel was obviously not comparable to the old space tunnels. The only ones that could really break through the Tsar district were the space tunnels that had appeared in the past 13 years. Therefore, without stopping, he directly rushed towards the space tunnel located in the southeast of Ekaterinburg in the Tsar district. At present, the Tsar district had already established a line of defense consisting of 33 fortresses, with this place as the center. They were doing their best to prevent the ferocious beasts from entering this line of defense. However, with the expansion of the space tunnel, the interference range of the space tunnel in Ekaterinburg had directly increased from 1,200 kilometers to 3,000 kilometers. The range was so large that it even affected the border of Uru city in the northwest of the Wuxia region. More than half of the Tsar district was covered by the space tunnel. Due to the interference of the space tunnel, the line of defense that was originally able to stop the ferocious beasts from emerging from Ekaterinburg collapsed after 4 days. Currently, a new line of defense had not been established. With this space tunnel as the center, the human territory could be described as a mess. Sporadic resistance and scenes of corpses could be seen everywhere. The disaster situation was many times worse than the Wuxia region. Rumble. Tsing Hui did not stop at the space tunnel defense fortress in Ekaterinburg. He directly rushed towards the interior of the space tunnel as fast as he could. Unlike the space tunnels in other regions, this space tunnel not only had a large number of ferocious beasts on the ground, but even the sky was also filled with ferocious beasts. When Tsing Hui flew into the space tunnel, he was obviously attacked by many birds. Among these birds, there were not only calamity, annihilation, and apocalypse grades, but also leader ferocious beasts that were above apocalypse grades. Even Tsing Hui had to expend some effort to kill these birds. If they were allowed to fly into the human world, perhaps even a dozen air defense squadron would not be able to successfully kill them. Tsing Hui killed his way through the void and finally arrived at the space tunnel. However, just as he was about to start a massacre with the space tunnel as the center and clear out the ferocious beasts, a large building that clearly had the aura of a civilization appeared in front of him. This is, looking at the building that covered an area of more than 30 kilometers at the end of his vision, Tsing Hui's pupils could not help but shrink slightly. An extraterrestrial civilization. At this moment, he finally saw the true appearance of this extraterrestrial civilization. Chapter 734. It's actually, Tsing Hui looked at the altar with a diameter of 30 kilometers. The altar was shrouded in a mysterious and obscure aura. Originally, it was impossible for Tsing Hui's sensory ability to sense the existence of this aura, but with the help of the Fortune Jade's transformation of his spiritual world, he could clearly sense the vastness, holiness, majesty, and unfathomability of this mysterious and obscure aura. Under the interference of this aura, the special boundary formed by the power of the divine tree on earth seemed to have been corroded to form a special entrance. Although this entrance was still affected and disturbed by the power of the divine tree, causing its operation to be extremely unstable, it was clear that mysterious and obscure vast power already had the foundation to tear apart the divine tree's boundary and plant a nail in Earth's civilization. TSK. TSK. As Tsing Hui approached, the birds circling in the void seemed to have sensed Tsing Hui's presence and quickly surged over from all directions. They spread their wings and soared, bringing with them a fierce and ruthless aura. There were not many of these birds, less than 100 of them. However, each of them had a terrifying power that was above that of an apocalypse-level dire beast. Among them, a few of the leaders had even reached the level of rank 8 king-level dire beasts, which the Earth civilization called king-level dire beasts. If this kind of king-level bird really rushed into the human world, it was unknown whether the current technological power of the human world could kill it. Let me see what you extraterrestrial creatures are. Tsing Hui's expression was cold. He completely ignored the king-level birds that pounced on him. The scarlet sword in his hand slashed out, and a dazzling white light suddenly burst out in the void. The fastest king-level bird was directly killed by his sword. The vibrating sword wave formed by the compressed atmosphere minced the king-level bird's flesh and blood into pieces after killing it, causing the void to seem like it was raining blood. After killing the king-level beast, Tsing Hui was not delayed at all. He continued to move forward. None of the beasts in front of him were his match. He easily broke through the perimeter formed by the beasts and killed his way to the large altar with a diameter of 30 kilometers. At this moment, there were a large number of ferocious beasts at the edge of the large altar. These ferocious beasts seemed to be controlled by creatures wrapped in black robes. They were transporting items and building the altar. They seemed to want to make the altar even bigger and attract even more vast, holy, and majestic power to corrode the barrier of the divine tree. Facing Tsing Hui's sudden attack, the black-robed creatures controlling the beasts seemed to be a little flustered. One by one, they gave orders, causing the beasts to roar and surround Tsing Hui. Unfortunately, although these ferocious beasts were ferocious, they were only king-level ferocious beasts, similar to level 8 ferocious beasts. How could they be a match for Tsing Hui, who had the body of a level 10 divine beast? At the moment of the confrontation, several king-level ferocious beasts that pounced on him were smashed into pieces by the sword light from his deep scarlet sword and turned into a bloody mist. Just as he was killing those king-level ferocious beasts, there was a slight ripple in his spiritual world. It seemed that someone was using some kind of occult spirit technique to shake his spiritual world. Unfortunately, according to Tsing Hui's speculation, the strength of these occult spirit techniques was not even comparable to the Xia Empire's master-level psychics. Under such circumstances, they naturally could not do anything to Tsing Hui, whose spiritual level had reached the legendary stage. Not only did the black-robed creatures who attacked with occult spirit techniques not hurt Tsing Hui at all, but they also suffered from the backlash. Some of them could not even stabilize their bodies and fell from the tall bodies of the ferocious beasts they were riding. It was extremely miserable. Whoosh! Tsing Hui flew and soon arrived above the altar. With a glance, he had already noticed more than 20 black-robed creatures. No, it was not black-robed creatures, but humans. These creatures hidden in the black robes were extremely similar to humans. Each of them had a human face, but without exception, they were all extremely handsome and flawless. In terms of style, they were more inclined towards Westerners. Are these extraterrestrial civilizations also a human civilization? Tsing Hui frowned. At this time, the human-like creatures in black robes were shouting, and each of them had a look of horror on their faces. Tsing Hui did not know much about their language, but when the Xia Empire's psychic masters conquered the indigenous planets, they had obviously found a solution to the language barrier, and that was spiritual link. Intelligent creatures may not speak the same language, but as long as there was a spiritual link and spiritual communication, they would naturally be able to understand each other's meaning. After capturing a black-robed man, Tsing Hui directly penetrated the spiritual link into the black-robed man's spiritual world. This black-robed man's physique was weak, only at the level of a rank 4 creature, but his spiritual strength was very strong, enough to stand shoulder to shoulder with those golden elixir realm warriors, and some were even comparable to powerful beings. Moreover, there was a mysterious force surrounding their bodies, which seemed to be quite extraordinary. Unfortunately, the Earth civilization had an enchantment supported by the sacred tree. Although they relied on their vast, holy, majestic, and great willpower to corrode a part of the enchantment power of the sacred tree, it was still wishful thinking to operate and use the mysterious energy in their bodies. In other words, they were at best rank 4 warriors and rank 8 or 9 psychic ability users. How could a psychic ability user of this level resist the spiritual link of a legendary psychic ability user? Even when Tsing Hui penetrated the black-robed man's spiritual link into his body, he did not know that his consciousness could already be captured by him. This world actually has a human who has reached the level of a higher rank 10 creature. How is it possible? The power of this world is severely sealed, it's impossible for such a powerhouse to be born. Even if the world sensed the danger and did its best to hasten the birth of the child of the world, it's impossible for him to grow to such a level in just a dozen years. The black-robed man screamed in horror, and there was deep fear in his eyes. This seal is unbelievably strong. It's much stronger than what we sensed from the outside world. Even the will of the great master of gods can't completely descend into this world. This can't be the legendary source world that those big shots have been searching for all this time, right? Damn it, we can't sense the existence of the Pantheon and can't use the power of the Pantheon to cast spells. We can't use even a fraction of our strength, otherwise, we can completely suppress a higher rank 10 creature. It's useless, the seal of this world is too strong, we can't cast spells in this world at all. I knew it, Casso and the others didn't have good intentions when they let us enter this world that hasn't been explored clearly. He's going to get us all killed this time. Many black-robed men controlled their beasts and looked at Xing Hui as if they were facing a great enemy, their expressions extremely nervous. At this moment, they clearly didn't know that Xing Hui had directly read the meaning of their words through their minds. Master of Gods, Pantheon. What's that? Where did you come from? Xing Hui listened for a moment, and when he felt that he couldn't find any useful clues, he simply transmitted his question through his consciousness. Feeling the terrifying waves set off by Xing Hui's consciousness, the black-robed men's expressions changed greatly. This kind of mental power. Starry Wizard, this is the mental power of a starry wizard. And, he's only a step away from becoming a legendary wizard. My God, how can there be a native who can cultivate to the level of a starry wizard in this world? It's over, we're finished. Casso, you actually sent us to our deaths, we Liberty Wings will never let you off. Mournful screams immediately sounded from these black-robed men after sensing Xing Hui's mental power that was so strong that it was simply not something they could resist. Wizard? Starry wizard? Hearing these people's screams, Xing Hui's pupils shrank slightly. Xing Hui had heard of this cultivation system before. In the battle records of the War of Chaos, such a civilization was mentioned many times. This civilization was divided into two types. One was those who believed in gods and gave everything they had to the gods, while the other was those who established their own roots, polished their magic power, and studied spells. These people in front of him, obviously, they came from this wizard civilization. If he didn't guess wrong, these fierce beasts were simply creatures that they had summoned from alternate dimensions. For summoners, they could have as many of these creatures as they wanted, and they could choose from one world after another. No wonder these beasts can't be killed. Xing Hui's gaze once again fell on these black-robed wizards, who were filled with fear. His powerful mental power blasted into their spiritual world with an unstoppable force. All of you, shut up. However, he was obviously not a mental power master who toyed with mental power, nor was he a wizard who studied mental power. Although he had extremely powerful mental power, it was simply difficult to control, so, he clearly only wanted to use his powerful mental power to intimidate these black-robed wizards, but in the end, he was careless and did not control his strength well, and directly shocked 8 of them to death. Their spiritual world collapsed with a bang. This was a little awkward, however, the effect was very obvious. These black-robed wizards obviously treated his actions as an example to others. The black-robed wizards who were originally wailing in fear suddenly trembled with fear, and each of them kept quiet out of fear under Xing Hui's gaze, and no longer dared to shout carelessly. Now, I need you to answer my questions. There are 16 of you left, I will divide you into 4 groups of 4, and interrogate you one by one. Where did you come from, what kind of power is behind you, and how strong you are? I will directly communicate with you through mental power. If you lie, your mental waves will easily be erroneous, and naturally, I will be able to detect it. If I find out that any of your answers are wrong, or your answers are different from the answers of the other 3, your entire group will be buried with you. After Qing Su said that, he glanced at the roaring ferocious beasts in the surroundings and called out, "Get these ferocious beasts to back off first. You should know that I can kill as many ferocious beasts as there are." "Yes, yes, yes." The black-robed wizards were all trembling with fear, and quickly let the beasts retreat tens of kilometers away. "All right, the four of you will form a group. I will start with the four of you." As Tsing spoke, he first circled the four of them, and directly used his mental waves to interrogate them. Chapter 735. Your origins, forces, and the strength of the forces that are currently attacking our Earth civilization. Tsing Hui shouted in a deep voice. "We come from the great Aikisi divine kingdom. Behind us is the great true god Aikisi. We belong to the 26th Legion under Divine General Karel. The peripheral members of the 13th Brigade and the 18th Squadron formed a mercenary group called the Wings of Liberty. We are all ordinary mercenaries in the mercenary group and are usually only responsible for cleaning up the interior of some small worlds, true god Aikisi." Tsing Hui had come into contact with the wizard civilization, but the battlefield of the wizard civilization in the War of Chaos was often very ordinary. There were no tyrannical existences such as true gods. Usually, level 9 and level 10 wizards were equivalent to peak existences, enough to dominate a state or rule a country. After pondering for a moment, he could only ask, how is a true god compared to a true immortal? Your Earth civilization is the seed of an immortal civilization. No. You don't have any traces of an immortal civilization. The black-robed man's eyes widened when he heard Tsing Hui mention true immortals, but he denied his guess after a moment. What seed of an immortal civilization? Explain in detail. Tsing Hui said sternly, and the spiritual pressure emanating from his body also became heavier. Yes, yes, yes. Sir, please calm down, please calm down. The black-robed man trembled in fear and hurriedly said, "The great true gods and the true immortals of the immortal civilization are similar. Under normal circumstances, our great true gods are naturally more powerful, but the true immortals of the immortal civilization have refined some mystical items called magic treasures that can sometimes suppress the great true gods. As for the immortal civilization, there are many, but they have been hunted down by powerhouses all over and dare not show themselves in the world. The price of the coordinates of the immortal civilization in the Pantheon is extremely high. Even our Aikisi divine kingdom will be rewarded handsomely if we can provide the coordinates of an immortal civilization. It is not an extravagant hope to be given a noble title and rule a continent or a world. The immortal civilization does not show itself in the world." Tsing Hui frowned slightly when he heard this. He did not expect the immortal civilization to be so weak in the environment of the forest of the universe. Then, he would have to be more careful after switching to the path of a sword immortal. "Why are you attacking our civilization?" "We're just following orders. Many years ago, there was a rumor circulating in the Pantheon that there's a source world in this galaxy." "Oh, source world is what we call it, but it's actually the origin of immortal civilization. It's said that a long time ago, the great Lord of Gods, the Lord of Time, the Lord of Chaos, and other supreme beings once fought over this galaxy. In the end, the Lord of Time won and occupied this galaxy. However, because the Supreme Lord of Chaos and the Lord of Gods were unwilling to admit defeat, they would occasionally send people to infiltrate this galaxy to see if they could find the source world. That's why we're here." "Master of Chaos?" Upon hearing the black-robed mage mention this title, Tsing Hui's breathing paused for a moment. "The Lord of Chaos who has nurtured a large number of sons of chaos." The black-robed mage looked at Tsing Hui in astonishment. Judging from the fluctuations emitted from his spiritual world, it was clear that Tsing Hui had guessed correctly. The Lord of Chaos, the Lord of Gods, the Lord of Time. If there's a Chaos Temple in the territory under the Lord of Chaos, then the Pantheon is the place where your Lord of Gods bestows power? "Yes." The black-robed mage replied with some reverence. When Xing Hui mentioned the Lord of Chaos' name, he no longer dared to fool him. The pantheon will select sons of gods, and each son of God will only need to submit enough divine essence to raise their divine level. Every time they raise their level, the great Lord of gods will bestow a divine art. Oh, divine essence is equivalent to the Tao essence under the Lord of Chaos, and the Lord of Time's pantheon. It's said that apart from the Lord of Chaos, the Lord of Gods, and the Lord of Time, there are many other great beings who also project their power into this void to collect divine essence. However, because these great beings were defeated and banished by the Supreme Lord of Gods, the Lord of Time, and the Lord of Chaos, they were unable to establish the Chaos Temple, Pantheon Temple, or Temple of Time to bestow power to the chosen ones. The seeds nurtured by such beings are often called demons and evil gods in our pantheon. Very well, I hope you're not lying to me. I wouldn't dare to lie to you, my lord. In fact, the people of the divine kingdom who live peacefully in the core of the pantheon might not know what the Lord of Chaos and the Lord of Time are, but any forces who want to come to this chaotic and warring area would know about it. My lord, you can ask around a little and you'll find out. Especially the power of the Lord of Time, we have to understand it clearly. Otherwise, if we encounter the Lord of Time's troops, we'll be caught off guard and die without even knowing how we died. Xing Hui looked at the black-robed mage and vaguely understood something. The civilization of Earth was obviously in the warring area, and there were legends of the source world in this area. Many top figures wanted to come here to try their luck and see if they could find the source world. They would then offer this world to the great Lord of Chaos, the Lord of Time, and the Lord of Gods for rewards. However, from the black-robed mage's words, he could guess that often, only those who were not doing well, or even large forces who could not survive in this area would come to this warring area and risk everything. It was like those smugglers who shuttled between the borders of two countries. They knew it was dangerous, but because they could not survive in the local area, they had no choice but to take the risk and try to make a fortune. This territory belongs to the Lord of Time. Then, what is the mystery of the Lord of Time? What kind of means did he give to the children of time? The black-robed mage carefully glanced behind Xing Hui and hesitated for a moment before saying, in fact, the civilization of Earth that you gave birth to, my lord, is walking the path of the Lord of Time. Xing Hui's heart skipped a beat and he blurted out, technology. Technology. It should be the unconventional way to develop oneself toward the limits of matter. It is said that the final form of the Lord of Time is to transform himself into a great substance called eternity, so that he is indestructible and indestructible. As for the power that the Lord of Time gave them, I don't know. I only know that it can greatly improve their computing power. Xing Hui looked at the black-robed mage in front of him. At present, judging from the black-robed mage's mental fluctuations, what he said was basically normal and should not be lying. Of course, if his mental fluctuations were so obscure that they could avoid Xing Hui's perception, then there was nothing he could do. So, how many people have their eyes on our civilization of Earth now? This small world. Oh, in the territory of the Lord of Time, this small world is called a star. The star you are on does not have any invasion value, but because it is in this area where there are rumors of the source world, and this star has obviously been hidden by some powerful people with special means, it aroused the curiosity of Captain Sauron, and thus launched an exploration plan on this star. Captain. What is the cultivation level of your captain? Captain Sauron is a powerful legendary mage. A legendary mage. Xing Hui's understanding of the mage cultivation system was limited to level 1 to 10 mages, and above that were great mages and domain mages. As for levels beyond that, he did not know. Fortunately, there was no need for him to ask, as the black-robed mage in front of him took the initiative to speak. Our cultivation system is actually similar to the cultivation system of the Immortal Path civilization, and basically corresponds to each other. True gods correspond to true immortals of the Immortal Path civilization, demigods correspond to false immortals of the Immortal Path civilization, and below that are sacred mages, legendary mages, and celestial mages like you, my lord. Below that are domain mages, great mages, and a series of other titles. My lord, the planet you are on has a special boundary, and if the magical fluctuations on your body are too strong, it will affect the stability of the spatial passageway, causing a mistake in teleportation into spatial turbulence. Therefore, Captain Casso, who is in charge of paving the way, can only let us peripheral mages open the way, and wait for the altar to be built and the boundary layer to be weakened as soon as possible before we can descend on this world. Planet, according to what you said, a legendary mage should not have the ability to open spatial passageways. How do you explain these spatial passageways behind you? Xing Hui asked coldly. Under normal circumstances, legendary mages do not have the ability to open spatial passageways. Only sacred mages who are proficient in space, or even demigods, have the hope of opening spatial passageways. However, we have a divine artifact that specializes in opening spatial passageways, which is why legendary mages have the ability to open spatial passageways, a divine artifact that specializes in opening spatial passageways. Xing Hui frowned slightly when he heard this. The possibility of this was very high. After all, these mages were backed by an invincible champion who could create a world with a thought. For an invincible being who could create a world with a thought, opening spatial passageways was not difficult at all. Moreover, the champion who could create a world with a thought behind these mages had come to this battlefield where the three supreme beings were fighting for a windfall, and would naturally have made ample preparations. How many champions do you have on your side waiting to invade our Earth civilization? Currently, only Captain Sauron has his eyes on this planet. However, because Earth's civilization is too insignificant, and a world with a diameter of more than 10,000 kilometers is not worth the effort of mobilizing so many people, Lord Sauron did not report this matter. He did not even pay too much attention to it, and only left it to Lord Casso to explore. Lord Sauron has a total of 14 squadrons, and Captain Casso is only one of them. The squadron's captains and vice-captains all have the ability of celestial mages, and so does Captain Casso. Depending on the strength of the squadrons, there can be 5 to 20 squadrons. The squadron's captains usually have the ability of domain mages, while the vice-captains fluctuate between domain mages and great mages. Xing Hui's gaze fell on the black-robed mage. Since Casso's squadrons have this kind of ability, why did he let you enter our Earth civilization? The black-robed mage smiled bitterly and said, "We are mercenaries of Liberty Wings." Although Liberty Wings is not a powerful mercenary organization, several of our captains have the ability of domain mages and great mages. Like us, we are just the most ordinary members used to explore. Even if there is danger, Casso and the others will not feel the slightest bit of heartache. Hearing the black-robed mage's words, Xing Hui vaguely had a general understanding of the enemies who were eyeing them covetously. Alright, I'll ask the others next. If I find that the words of others are different from yours, then don't blame me for being ruthless. After Xing Hui finished speaking, he withdrew his gaze from the black-robed mage and turned to the others, beginning to verify one by one. Chapter 736. Xing Hui spent an entire day asking these black-robed sorcerers one by one and finally found that the black-robed sorcerer was not lying. Outside the enchantment that was propped up by the divine tree, there was indeed a powerful force eyeing the Earth civilization. Although he did not know whether the Earth civilization was the source world that these people were talking about, he could be sure of one thing. Once these people had invested a lot of energy in the Earth civilization but only reaped little in return, they would definitely not let the Earth civilization go easily in their fury. In addition, according to these sorcerers, the Immortal Path civilization was also organized as a force similar to the evil gods. Once they were discovered and reported to the higher-ups to destroy them, they would definitely be rewarded handsomely. And yet, there was obviously an unclear relationship between the Earth civilization and the Immortal Path civilization. For example, the Mount Shu Grotto Heaven and the Kunlun Grotto Heaven were obviously left behind by the powerhouses of the Immortal Path civilization. Moreover, the true strength of the powerhouses of the Immortal Path civilization who left behind these two grotto heavens was definitely above the true god Ikes mentioned by the black-robed sorcerers and the others. After all, a true god was only comparable to a true immortal or a powerhouse who could create a world with a single thought. After a powerhouse who could create a world with a single thought fell, their world would at most last for a few decades or 100 years before collapsing. However, the Mount Shu Grotto Heaven and the Kunlun Grotto Heaven had existed for at least 3,000 years. This was the best proof. Based on this point, when Zoro and the others from the Ike's divine kingdom entered the Earth civilization would definitely not have a good ending. Kaso, Zoro, and the Legion commander and divine general corralled behind them. Xing Hui had already deduced the strength of these people based on their words. Kaso was at the Void Transformation Realm, Zoro was at the Vacuum Shattering Realm, and the Legion commander was probably equivalent to a powerhouse who had cultivated the divine true body. As for Divine General Corel, he had reached the omnipotent realm who could tear the void and roam freely in the void. Fortunately, with the enchantment of the divine tree, the Earth world would only emit a fluctuation when he was teleporting. Only then would they be able to follow this trace and send dozens of teams to try their luck and see if they could enter the Earth world. And this time, among the dozens of teams, only this group of people had successfully entered Earth's civilization. From the looks of it, my previous plan to transform the Earth civilization into a cultivator civilization was a little too simple. The star region where the Earth civilization is located is the territory of the Lord of Time. The most suitable path to take is the path of science and technology. Only by using the path of science and technology to cover up the traces of the Immortal Path civilization on the Earth civilization can the Earth civilization safely survive in this starry sky after losing the protection of the divine tree enchantment. Xing Hui could not help but think of the Xiaya Empire that he had gone to because of the War of Chaos. If he didn't guess wrong, the technologically advanced Xiaya Empire should also belong to the Time King's territory. Looks like I have to consider letting Earth civilization develop along the path of the Xiaya Empire and speed up the progress of science and technology. When Xing Hui returned from the Xiaya Empire, he also brought back his personal terminal. In addition to many secret spirit techniques, the personal terminal also contained the methods to build mechas and even low-level battleships. Due to the memory of his saint-level spirit ability user and the Scarlet Sun Demon God that he had used at that time, his memory of the manufacturing of the holy mecha was deeply engraved in his mind. Even if the personal terminal could not be transferred out of the personal space, he could still restore most of the manufacturing method of the holy mecha to its original state. In other words, as long as technology and industry allowed, he could create a mecha with combat power comparable to a golden elixir realm cultivator, which was a level 10 dire beast. Of course, the so-called level 10 mecha was just an idealized figure. To pilot a level 10 holy mecha and exert combat power not inferior to a level 10 dire beast, one must at least reach the level of a level 9 spirit ability user. At present, the highest spirit level Xing Hui had seen in the Earth Federation was the veteran Feng Qianshan. His spirit level was about the level of a level 6 spirit ability user, and it was obviously too early for him to pilot a holy mecha. Sweeping his gaze over the 16 black-robed sorcerers who had survived, Xing Hui weighed the pros and cons. He did not kill these people. Instead, he relied on his powerful spirit power as a saint-level spirit master to forcibly seal their spiritual worlds. As for the method of sealing, it was far from being as high-end as sealing. It was completely relying on his powerful spirit power to severely injure them. Due to his poor control of his spirit power, he killed another 3 of the 16 black-robed sorcerers when he used his spirit power to severely injure their spiritual worlds. This made the 13 black-robed sorcerers who had survived want to cry but have no tears. Leading these 13 people, Xing Hui quickly walked outside. Although these 13 people were sorcerers, each of them also had a level 3 or level 4 physique. Their speed was not slow. After spending nearly 10 hours, they finally walked out of the area affected by the spatial passage and appeared at the defensive line of the 33 fortresses of Katerinburg in the Tsar's district. As Tsing Hui had been on a killing spree at the edge of the spatial passage for an entire day, the number of ferocious beasts rushing out of the spatial passage was significantly reduced. The 33 fortresses outside Katerinburg finally resisted the attack of the ferocious beasts and re-established a reconnaissance system. As a result, before Tsing Hui had time to enter these fortresses, there were already war chariots carrying tall soldiers of the Tsar's district who came out to greet him. King Tsing Hui, Federation General Yuri Sergei Ivanov salutes you. Thank you for your help to our Katerinburg defensive line. The hundreds of millions of people in the Tsar's district will always remember your kindness in our hearts. On the war chariot, a man with the rank of general came to Tsing Hui and bowed to express his gratitude carefully. General Yuri. Tsing Hui nodded to the man in front of him and said at the same time, I've killed more than half of the ferocious beasts in this spatial passage, but, there's something that needs to be decided by gathering all the higher-ups of the Earth Federation. Gather all the higher-ups of the Earth Federation. General Yuri was slightly startled. Then, his gaze fell on the 13 black-robed mages behind him. Their faces were pale because of the severe mental damage. Although these people had some similarities with the Western people, their hair colors were all strange. Not only were there gold, black, and brown, but there were also blue, purple, and other miscellaneous colors. There's no harm in giving you some advice. These people are the invaders of the extraterrestrial civilization. The invaders of the extraterrestrial civilization have already appeared. You should understand the seriousness of the problem. Tsing Hui noticed Yuri's gaze and said in a calm tone. Although his tone did not fluctuate much, in Yuri's ears, it was no less than earth-shattering. Invaders of the extraterrestrial civilization. Yuri stared at the 13 black-robed mages in front of him. For a moment, he felt his breathing stagnate. After a while, he suddenly came back to his senses and hurriedly said, King Tsing Hui, I'll gather all the higher-ups of the Earth Federation. These people, Ching Su knew what he wanted to say, so he said with composure, don't worry. These people are just the ordinary vanguard soldiers of the extraterrestrial civilization. I'll be responsible for keeping an eye on them and making sure they don't run amok. Just do it quickly. Yes, I'll go now. General Yuri said and summoned his guard. He asked him to take Tsing Hui to the fortress to rest. As for himself, he personally went to the contact point to contact the other members of the Earth Federation Parliament. This was the first time the invaders of the extraterrestrial civilization had appeared and were captured by King Tsing Hui. This news must be spread to the entire Earth Federation as soon as possible so that the higher-ups of the Earth Federation Parliament could come up with a plan for the next step. The next half of the day was calm. Of course, this calmness was only for Tsing Hui. In fact, the entire Earth Federation had already been stirred up by the capture of these invaders by Tsing Hui. The higher-ups of the various regions of the Earth Federation immediately gathered their own expert teams and took the top transport aircraft with the fastest speed to the fortress of the Katerina line of defense under the escort of fighter jets. In less than 10 hours, more than half of the hundreds of members of the Earth Federation Supreme Parliament had arrived. Among them, LV Hunyuan, Ran Donglai, and Jiang Kunlun of the Wuxia region's higher-ups were all present. Some other higher-ups of the Wuxia region also came with them. When these higher-ups of the various regions arrived, they immediately sent expert teams to jointly interrogate the black-robed mages of the extraterrestrial civilization. After another night of interrogation, the higher-ups of the Earth Federation finally had a clear understanding of the current situation they were facing. When they learned that these ferocious beasts were not even official soldiers of the enemy and were simply cannon fodder summoned by the enemy through a special method, all of them became anxious. They immediately invited Tsing Hui to express his opinion on the current crisis that the Earth civilization was facing. Tsing Hui stood at the main seat in the conference room and looked at the people in the conference room. There were more than 600 people in the conference room. Of course, these 600 people were not all members of the Supreme Parliament. Even so, each of them still had a near-supreme status in their respective regions. Any word they said could be treated as an imperial edict. Thousands of people would study, understand, and figure it out. It seems that you've already figured out our current situation. Tsing Hui's tone was also a little dignified. Those invaders of the extraterrestrial civilization captured the fluctuations of our Earth civilization to activate the space artifact that can cut open the outer boundary of our Earth civilization and expand the space channel. The fluctuations emitted by our Earth civilization are directly related to the mysterious boundary that shrouds the Earth. Every time the mysterious boundary runs for a cycle, it will run again. At the moment when it runs again, there will be energy fluctuations escaping. When this energy fluctuation is captured, the space channel will expand again. More invaders and more powerful ferocious beasts will invade our Earth civilization. According to the scientists' calculations, the energy of the mysterious boundary will be reactivated 38 years later. Chapter 737. 38 years. Do we only have 38 years left? The enemy's platoon leader is said to have reached Tier 14, and the platoon leader has reached the level of a Tier 15 dire beast. It is said that they are so powerful that they can destroy a planet with a single blow. How can our civilization resist them? What should we do? King Tsing Hui, is there any way for our civilization to save ourselves? You are the only Tier 8 powerhouse of our civilization. No, you are a Tier 10 powerhouse. You are the hope of our civilization. That's right, King of the Green Ruins. What should we do next? Please give us your instructions, King Tsing Hui. In another 38 years, our civilization will face a crisis of life and death. Only if everyone is united will there be a glimmer of hope to turn the situation around. As soon as Tsing Hui finished speaking, the many members of the Supreme Council who had become worried after learning the truth could no longer sit still and voiced their opinions. Tsing Hui glanced at Antonio, the chairman of the Northern America region, who said that he was a Tier 10 powerhouse. He knew that if he handed the black-robed mages over to these people, not only would these people learn more about the mage civilization, they would also learn more about him. The fact that they were able to tell him that his true power level wasn't that of an apocalypse level or a challenger level, but that he was a level 10 life form was the best proof of this. Silence. Hearing the discussions below, Tsing Hui gestured with his hand. Immediately, many of the important figures in the hearts of the people in the conference room stopped talking at the same time and looked at Tsing Hui. For this matter, I already have a solution. If we humans want to rely on force to catch up and have the ability to stand shoulder to shoulder with the dire beasts, it will only be a pipe dream. Therefore, we can only work on what we are good at and constantly enrich ourselves. Finally, we can achieve the ability to compete with these extraterrestrial civilizations. At present, although the Earth Federation government has been established, in fact, the cooperation between the various sectors is still not very close. Right now, you already know what kind of enemy we are facing, so I hope that all the countries can cooperate wholeheartedly to let our Earth civilization survive the current crisis. And this is the cooperation I'm talking about. As Tsing Hui spoke, he took out a document. This document was the result of his hard work in the past 20 hours. After making 9 copies, he gestured to his assistant to hand these 9 documents to the 9 chairmen. The 9 chairmen of the Supreme Council basically belonged to the hawkish faction of the military, so they were quite familiar with technological weapons. When they skimmed through the information Ching Su had passed over, they could not help but widen their eyes. This is mech. Mech manufacturing technology. Mech. Are we going to make mechs to fight these monsters? With spatial interference, the equipment in the mech will also be affected. Hearing one of the chairmen could not suppress the exclamation of surprise, whispers immediately among the crowd. Ordinary electronic products may be disturbed by the fluctuations emitted by the spatial channel, but this type of mech uses neural connection technology, which emphasizes the integration of man and machine. The spatial channel emitted by the spatial channel will interfere with the operation of the mech, but it will definitely not be significant. We only need to take targeted precautions, and we will be able to create mechs that can perform neural connection and resist the interference of spatial fluctuations. As Tsing Hui spoke, he stretched out his hand and spread his 5 fingers. We don't need too many, just 5 of these mechs. I believe that the Earth Federation will be able to resist the next round of invasion by the Mage civilization. These mechs. Are they really as recorded in the document, King Tsing Hui, that they have the combat power not inferior to a 10th order creature? Chairman Charlie, who was the fastest to look through the document, looked at Tsing Hui and asked. The mechs can indeed exert the combat power of a 10th order creature, but your ability and the current level of technology on Earth are not enough to truly create a holy knight. Therefore, even if these mechs are completed, in the end, you will only be able to fight against a 9th order or even 8th order creature at best. Tsing Hui spoke the truth. The technology involved in these mechs. We need to study it carefully. Even if you have provided us with detailed data, King Tsing Hui, we may not be able to successfully create one in the next 10 years. One of the chairmen who had some understanding of scientific research showed a wry smile. The technology involved in these documents was too advanced. If you can't make it, then think of ways to research it. After thoroughly studying the manufacturing method of this divine mech, I need you to use this mech technology in all aspects to completely improve the technological level of Earth's civilization, so that Earth's civilization can change in the direction of technology as much as possible. You must have learned from those black-robed sorcerers that the star field we are in is actually in the territory of a great creature called the Time Lord, and this Time Lord is walking the path of technology. Earth's civilization can only go in this direction, and when it comes into contact with other civilizations in the future, it won't be excluded and treated as an alien. Tsing Hui said. Time Lord. Those black-robed mages said that the Time Lord radiated his power tens of trillions of light-years. Is this true? Is there really a creature that can cultivate to such a level? One of the chairmen asked in disbelief. The distance of 1 light-year was like an insurmountable moat for the current human civilization, but now, according to the black-robed mage, the Time Lord's power could radiate tens of trillions of light-years. This was simply beyond the limits of their imagination. Time Lord, Tsing Hui was silent for a moment. He vaguely guessed that the Time Lord, the Master of Gods, and the Lord of Chaos should be the greatest and most powerful existence in the infinite starry sky. This could be judged from the tip of the iceberg of the power displayed by the Lord of Chaos. If the Lord of Chaos was like this, then, the Master of Gods and the Time Lord, who were equally famous as him, would not be much worse. There must be countless worlds like the divine wilderness under their jurisdiction. However, an existence like the Time Lord is too far away from us. I'm afraid that even Sauron's group, who is about to bring us disaster, and even the supreme true god Axon behind Sauron, are like ants in front of the Time Lord. Therefore, don't ask too much, don't think too much, and think of a way to solve the crisis that our civilization is facing first. Tsing Hui's words naturally made the 9 chairmen nod in agreement. Several chairmen looked at each other and secretly discussed for a while. In the end, it was Chairman Jiang Kunlun, who had the best relationship with Tsing Hui, who came forward and pleaded, King Tsing Hui, according to what we learned from the interrogation of those black-robed mages, the Time Lord has radiated his power to every corner of his jurisdiction and has built the Temple of Time in places where life has settled down. Anyone who is lucky enough to enter the Temple of Time can become a child of time. Once a child of time becomes a child of time, even if it is only the lowest level child of time, can borrow part of the great Time Lord's computing power. This part of computing power is not even comparable to a cell of the Time Lord, but if an ordinary person uses it, it is equivalent to having the latest optical computer. With the assistance of this part of computing power, any research can progress by leaps and bounds. The computing power of the Time Lord, Tsing Hui heard from those black-robed mages that the Lord of Chaos had given the children of Chaos various characteristics, the Lord of Gods had given the children of God under him many divine spells, and the Lord of Time allowed the children of Time under him to borrow part of his computing power. At that time, he did not think too much about it, but now it seemed, perhaps he could really plot something. But soon, he thought of something and shook his head to refuse. There is one thing that you don't know. There is a special enchantment in the Earth civilization, and the power of the Time Lord seems to be unable to penetrate it. So let's not talk about whether you can become a child of time. Even if you become a child of time, you can't borrow the power of the Time Lord here. Therefore, the research of this mech can only rely on you. After Tsing Hui finished speaking, he once again took out a book of mental cultivation methods. This is the 9 chapters of the Forging Spirit technique. Cultivating it can enhance your mental power, so that you won't be defeated by your opponent on the mental level even though you have a powerful mech. Thank you, King Tsing Hui, for your gift. When everyone saw that Tsing Hui had taken out such a precious mental cultivation method, they all stood up one by one and bowed solemnly. Although I know that you must promote this 9 chapters of the Forging Spirit technique in the military to maintain the stability of society, the situation is different now. Earth civilization is facing a crisis, and we need the strength of everyone. Therefore, you might as well release the 9 chapters of the Forging Spirit technique one by one and establish a mental ability user association at the same time. On the one hand, you can prevent those with strong mental power from causing trouble. On the other hand, you can also unearth geniuses who cultivate mental power and focus on nurturing them. Don't worry, King Tsing Hui. We will definitely discuss a safe method and hand it over to King Tsing Hui for review. A few of the chairmen immediately expressed their stance. Tsing Hui nodded. The reason why he took out the 9 chapters of the Forging Spirit technique and not other mental cultivation methods was mainly because this mental cultivation method was more neutral and peaceful. There would not be any major problems. For the Earth civilization that had just embarked on the mental cultivation system and had no experience to learn from, this mental cultivation method was obviously the most suitable. However, after taking out the 9 chapters of the Forging Spirit technique, he seemed to have thought of something. Once again, he took out the galactic funeral oration. Not only could the cultivation of the Starseed funeral rites strengthen the mind, it could also strengthen the body. Even though the effects were weak and unsatisfactory, that was only for Qing Su. If everyone on Earth practiced the Starseed funeral rites, the effects might not be apparent in a short period of time, but in a few decades, it would be no problem for them to strengthen their bodies to the level of martial arts masters that represented the limits of mortals, or even martial saints. Chapter 738. The Galactic Funeral Rites, the 9-chapter Forging Spirit Technique, and the Mech Manufacturing Technique. No matter how similar these 3 pieces of information were, they could bring about subversive changes to the current structure of Earth's civilization. If Tsing Hui kept any of them to himself or taught them to a small number of people, he could immediately create a behemoth that could overturn the current Earth Federation. However, Tsing Hui did not hesitate to contribute these 3 pieces of information to the Earth Federation. In addition, they had learned about their true enemy through the interrogation of the black-robed mages. For a time, the big shots in the Earth Federation who faintly felt that Tsing Hui might be entangled with an extraterrestrial civilization felt extremely guilty. When Tsing Hui rested for a day and planned to return to Guyu City, dozens of big shots who represented the pinnacle of power in the Earth Federation personally came to see him off. King Tsing Hui, you will always be the most welcome and most distinguished guest of our Beimei region. We will specially open a manor for you in the Beimei region. You can come and stay at any time. It's all thanks to King Tsing Hui that we can see the hope of solving the crisis. Oh, I shouldn't call you King Tsing Hui now, but Venerable Tsing Hui. We will always remember Venerable Tsing Hui's contributions to the Earth Federation and the entire Earth civilization. All of your deeds will be recorded in the annals of history for countless future generations to learn from and revere. Venerable Tsing Hui, we will immediately hold a meeting when we return and invite Venerable Tsing Hui to become the honorary chairman of the Supreme Council of the Earth Federation. Your contributions and deeds are more than enough to bear this responsibility. The chairman and deputy chairman from various major regions spoke with smiles on their faces in front of Tsing Hui. If they did not know that Tsing Hui would not leave the Huaxia region for other regions, they would even be willing to pay any price to get Tsing Hui to settle down there. You don't have to thank me. You just need to promote the many secret techniques I have given you as soon as possible. At the same time, set up a global research institute and do your best to create mechs that we can use as soon as possible. Only then will Earth's civilization have a chance to survive the current crisis. Tsing Hui said. Don't worry, Venerable Tsing Hui. We will keep your words in mind. Not long ago, we began to gather people from all over the place to prepare to set up a research institute. We have chosen the location of this research institute in the Huaxia region, and it is less than 600 kilometers from Guyu City where you live. Chairman Charade stepped forward and said. Oh. Tsing Hui estimated the Huaxia region was probably the Pearl River Delta. He nodded immediately. He said, I will wait and see your results. I won't disappoint you, Venerable Qing Su. Tsing Hui nodded. Hui turned Charade, but just as he was about to leave, he seemed to have sensed something and suddenly looked into the distance. As he planned to leave directly, he was actually on a helipad of the fortress. The terrain was relatively high. Looking down from here, not only could he see the heavily guarded command fort, but he could also see the many soldiers stationed outside the fortress. Just a moment ago, he suddenly felt a gaze with strong emotions focused on him. This gaze was different from the reverence and worship of ordinary soldiers. The message revealed in it was faintly familiar. However, when he looked in that direction, he only saw a group of soldiers and mercenaries fighting with each other. Venerable Tsing Hui, what's the matter? Is there a problem? Jiang Kunlun, who was beside him, immediately noticed his abnormality and quickly asked. Nothing. Tsing Hui replied and swept his mental energy in that direction. However, due to his limited control over his mental energy, he could only vaguely determine that there was no one he was familiar with among those people. In addition, with so many people from the Supreme Council accompanying him, he was about to leave. After not noticing any familiar faces, he withdrew his gaze and turned to Jiang Kunlun again. I'll leave first and see if I can find a way to repair the mysterious boundary of the Earth civilization. If the boundary can really be repaired, the safety of our Earth civilization will undoubtedly increase by a lot. We understand. What we're doing is just a small matter. Venerable Tsing Hui's job is to start from the root and solve the crisis for the Earth civilization. Everyone responded. Tsing Hui did not stay here for long. His figure suddenly soared into the air and then accelerated in the void. With a deafening boom, he broke through the sound barrier and whizzed toward the horizon at a speed many times faster than the speed of sound. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared from everyone's sight. Flying at supersonic speed with one's flesh and blood. What a great power this is! Even though Jiang Kunlun had witnessed Tsing Hui using this method more than once, the Huaxia region's commander-in-chief, who was a warrior, could not help but sigh. The people from the military headquarters of the other regions also nodded in agreement. Alright, Venerable Tsing Hui has already pointed out the path for us. Next, it's up to us to see if we can realize what Venerable Tsing Hui has given us. Everyone, work hard. The crisis that our Earth civilization is currently facing can only be overcome by relying on ourselves. Marshal Zhu Kefu, who had come from the Mediterranean fortress, said. Everyone nodded and quickly returned to the stronghold to discuss the details of the plan. Did you see that? Captain Makarov, Blood's son, did you guys see that? That's King Tsing Hui. That's King Tsing Hui. Oh my god, I actually got to see his body flying at supersonic speed with my own eyes. In the area where Tsing Hui was looking at earlier, Diana, who was 32 years old, was as excited as a young girl at this moment. In fact, she was not the only one. Everyone in their team, including the soldiers beside them, was shouting in joy. Their expressions were full of excitement and joy. Rumors of King Xinghui had long spread throughout the entire Earth Federation through promotional videos. The Earth Federation was very familiar with this legendary expert who was so powerful that he could treat apocalyptic-level ferocious beasts as nothing. However, knowing about him was one thing, and witnessing his appearance with their own eyes was another. It was just like a singer who was popular throughout the Federation. Knowing his name and seeing him with their own eyes, or even hearing him perform to his heart's content, were two completely different concepts. Although Diana and the others did not chase after celebrities, they believed in the strong. Now that they saw King Xinghui, who was as powerful as a god in their hearts, actually appear in front of them, they were naturally pleasantly surprised. I was wondering why there were fewer and fewer ferocious beasts in our fortress defense line. Today, there are only 2 or 3 ferocious beasts that have emerged from the defense line of the space passage. They are not even enough to fill the gaps between the teeth of the local garrison, let alone for us to deal with them personally. Now, it seems that it must be because King Xinghui has made his move. He has killed all the ferocious beasts in the space passage. That's why we are so relaxed now. Didn't I tell you earlier that King Xinghui is here? Those ferocious beasts will definitely be killed by King Xinghui, but you guys didn't believe me. What do you mean by King Xinghui? Didn't you see the latest news? The higher-ups of the Earth Federation have already conducted a new round of classification based on the strength displayed by Venerable Qing Su and the new ferocious beasts. After the Apocalypse level ferocious beasts are the leader level, then the king level, then the emperor level. Only after the emperor level is the venerable level where Venerable Qing Su is, so we should call him Venerable Qing Su. Makarov, the captain of the team, slapped the back of the head of Ivan, who was jumping the happiest in the team. Yes, 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 Venerable Xinghui, it's Venerable Xinghui. Ivan nodded vigorously, and at the same time, glanced in the direction where Xinghui was standing. Those people just now are all the top figures of the Earth Federation. Almost half of the people in the Earth Federation's Supreme Council are here to accompany Venerable Xinghui and thank him for his contribution. TSK, TSK. Currently, Venerable Xinghui claims to be number 2 in the world. Who dares to claim to be number 1? If I could have 1/10 of Venerable Xinghui's power and status, I'd be willing to die right now. Makarov, Diana, and the others nodded in agreement. Forget 1/10. I'll be satisfied as long as I can enter the Tsar District Supreme Council. When that time comes, what can I not get? Money, power, beautiful women, anything I want. It's easy to get a new model every day. Vulgar. Diana glanced disdainfully at Makarov, and then turned to her teammates. Blood son, why do you look a little unhappy to be able to see the true face of such a great being like Venerable Xinghui? Unhappy? Not at all. Blood son. Jiang Ningji, the young master of the Dongyang sword sect, forced a smile and replied. At the same time, he hid his ferocious and terrifying appearance even more deeply. Is that so? Diana didn't think too much about it. At this moment, she saw the news about Venerable Xinghui's search for Jiang Ningji's whereabouts on the fortress screen. She immediately became envious. I really don't know who this woman is, to be able to make Venerable Xinghui search for her so diligently. If I were her, I'd probably die of happiness. Tisk, TSK. Big Sister Diana, you don't have to think about it. As the saying goes, heroes are matched with beautiful women. With Venerable Xinghui's status and character, the woman he's looking for must be devastatingly beautiful. How could Venerable Xinghui like someone like you who's getting old? Ivan, who was standing aside, burst into laughter. Kid, are you courting death? I'm our team's belle after all. Who knows, maybe Venerable Xinghui likes me. There's still hope. Diana pretended to hit him, scaring Ivan into laughing and running away. All right, all right. Team Belle, Team Belle. You're our team's belle. Someone like Venerable Qing Su must have a lot of beauties around him. No matter how impressive his cultivation is, he's still a man after all, and a hot-blooded man at that. How can he compare to thousands of beauties who admire him throwing themselves at him? Diana, you don't have to think about it. Why don't you think about us, Makarov laughed. However, while they were joking around, they didn't notice that Jiang Ningji, who was already feeling inferior due to her disfigurement, lowered her head even more when she heard their words. She wished she could hide in the shadows of her beautiful hair and never see the light of day. Chapter 739. Time passed. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, unknowingly, it had been nearly a year since Tsing Hui returned to Earth. In this 1 year, he had relied on the soul-refining pills to cultivate 8 top powerhouses. 4 of these 8 top powerhouses had broken through to Class 7 when they took the soul-refining pills. The remaining 4 had also broken through to Class 7 after a year of continuous refinement and training. Although they could not kill Class 3 and Class 4 ferocious beasts like they could when they were Class 2 and Class 3 ferocious beasts, they already had the ability to fight against Class 8 ferocious beasts. In addition, the greatest advantage of humans was wisdom and teamwork. If one person could not kill a rank 8 dire beast, several people would join forces to form a team to kill those rank 8 dire beasts. In this case, in this year, more than 20 rank 8 dire beasts died in their hands, almost half of all the rank 8 dire beasts on Earth. As for the remaining half, they were basically gregarious dire beasts and were not easy to kill. Even if they wanted to eliminate them, they could only do it slowly. In addition, with the promotion of the 9 forging divine arts and the establishment of the Psionic Association, many psionic ability users were born in the Earth civilization. However, most of the psionic ability users were limited to rank 3. Rank 4 was quite rare, and the highest were the rank 7 warriors who took the soul-refining pills. While these people took the soul-refining pills to strengthen their physique, their spirit also seemed to be tempered under the effect of refining qi into spirit, and they broke through to rank 6. Unfortunately, this level was still far from the requirement to pilot a divine-grade mech. Tsing Hui even suspected that even after 16 years, the Earth civilization might not be able to produce a single psionic ability user whose spirit had reached the threshold of rank 9. The development of the Earth civilization was generally still thriving, but for Tsing Hui, the more time passed, the more intense the torment in his heart became. There was no other reason other than there had been no news of Jiang Ningji. At this moment, he had even begun to despair. If it were not for the belief in his heart that Jiang Ningji would not die so easily, he would have even given up on continuing the search. Under the pressure of not being able to find her, he did not even have the mood to study the 4th sword after the Sword of Eclipse, the Sword of Black Sun, even if the scientists of the Research Institute had provided a complete research model. Finally, no matter how unwilling Tsing Hui was to face it, he had to admit it. Jiang Ningji, perhaps he had really died in the catastrophe at the beginning of the outbreak of the berserk beasts. Tsing Hui. In the city lord's mansion of Guyu City, Qin Yiming had just finished his business and was coming out. When he saw Tsing Hui waiting at the door, he immediately called out and smiled. "Since you're here, why didn't you inform me? I could have come down earlier." "Father, you're now the city lord of Ancient Jade City and the deputy commander of Ancient Jade City Base. You're a major figure with the rank of lieutenant general. You're busy every day, so it's not good for me to disturb you," Tsing Hui said with a smile. "Let's go. If there's anything, we can talk about it as we go back. Your Aunt Haitang has been talking about inviting you over for a meal and thanking you properly. However, I've been rejecting you with the excuse that you're busy. Since you're here today, don't leave." Qin Yiming pulled Qing Su and was about to walk towards his residence. Tsing Hui didn't refuse and just said, "Father, since you've already given them the petals of the unfalling flower, I won't say anything else. I just hope that she can live a good life with you." Speaking of this matter, Tsing Hui was quite helpless. He gave Qin Yiming an unfalling flower. Because he was worried that Qin Yiming wouldn't be able to bear the medicinal power of the unfalling flower, he divided it into 5 petals and let him consume them one by one. He didn't expect that after learning about the effects of the unfalling flower, he actually secretly hid 3 petals and gave them to Haitang, Qin Yusen, and Hai Wire. If he hadn't noticed the change in Hai Wire's aura, he probably wouldn't have noticed this. He naturally felt quite unhappy about this matter, but it had already happened. In addition to Qin Yiming's persuasion and Haitang's performance in the past year, Xinghui couldn't get angry in the end and could only acquiesce to this matter. "Father, I have something to tell you this time." "Oh." Qin Yiming looked at Xinghui, "Do you want to go somewhere else?" "No need, let's talk while we walk." Xinghui organized his words a little before slowly opening his mouth. "In fact, I'm afraid it's not just you, Father. Everyone in the Earth Federation is very curious about how I have the combat power not inferior to a rank 10 advanced life form and also brought with me so many mystical exotic flowers and fruits, right? If you don't want to talk about this matter, we won't force you. I believe that no one in the Earth Federation will force you." Qin Yiming said consciously. "That's true, but you've already seen the current situation of the Earth Federation. Although I've given them mech technology and spiritual ability user cultivation methods, as the barrier protecting our world gradually disappears, there will be a day when Captain Sauron, who is eyeing our civilization covetously, will kill our civilization on Earth. And this won't take a long time, at most 100 years. Do you think that our civilization on Earth will be able to resist the invasion of such a terrifying powerhouse after 100 years? Qin Yiming had now been promoted to the high-level council of the Wuxia region as an exception. Because of his relationship with Xinghui, he even had a seat in the Supreme Council. It was just that he was only a substitute with the qualification to listen in. Although he was a substitute, he knew the current danger that Earth civilization was facing like the back of his hand. At the same time, he also understood how terrifying Captain Sauron was. Even if Earth civilization developed for another 100 years and built hundreds and thousands of holy mechs, they would still be destroyed in front of a terrifying rank 15 creature like Sauron. What do you want to do? We have to find a way out for Earth civilization. Qin Yiming suddenly understood. You want to leave? Xinghui nodded. If I leave, the barrier of Earth will inevitably weaken again. The next expansion of space should be someday in 16 years. I'll try my best to come in 16 years. 16 years, Qin Yiming's face was a little gloomy. His father had been separated for 13 years, and now they had only been reunited for a year. Now that they had to be separated for another 16 years, he naturally felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. However, he understood that Xinghui's departure to find a way out for Earth civilization was imperative. No one had the right to stop him, not even his father. Therefore, in order not to pressure Xinghui, he could only pretend to be relaxed and smile. It's only 16 years. Don't forget, I've consumed an entire unfalling flower. If the unfalling flower is really as magical as you say, I should be able to live for 1,000 years. 16 years is nothing. Go ahead, and even if you leave a little longer, it doesn't matter. I believe that in 16 years, our Earth Federation will definitely be able to create a powerful holy mech and cultivate rank 7, rank 8, and even rank 9 psychic ability users. When that time comes, even if the space passage expands again, we can still easily deal with it. Therefore, you don't have to force yourself too much. If you can't think of a way in 16 years, think about it more. Earth won't be in any danger. Hearing this, Xinghui only nodded seriously. When the time comes, I'll gather the upper echelons of the parliament to explain this matter. However, apart from this, there's another matter that I need you to personally watch over. Speak. Qin Yiming tidied his clothes and said solemnly. This matter is related to senior sister Jiang Ningji. Jiang Ningji, hearing Xinghui mention this matter, Qin Yiming's face darkened slightly. I didn't expect her to be so important in your heart. If I had known, I would have thought of a way to help you protect Jiang Ningji even at the risk of offending the Yi and Huang families. But now, you've used all the power of the Earth Federation and have searched for her for an entire year without finding her. I'm afraid she's really, no. Xing Hui reached out and pointed at his forehead. I believe in my intuition. She's not dead yet. Qin Yiming looked at Xing Hui and wanted to persuade him again. However, under the influence of guilt, he didn't know where to start. In the end, he could only sigh. What do you want me to do? I need father to continue supervising the order to search for senior sister Jiang Ningji. At the same time, Xing Hui took out a soul-refining pill and a non-falling flower. If you find her, give this to her. Qin Yiming took the two items and carefully put them away. Don't worry. If I find her, I'll give these to her. Okay. Qin Su nodded. In the end, he added, Father, don't let anyone know about these two items. You should understand their value in the Earth Federation. Qin Yiming couldn't help but be speechless when he heard this. You brat, I know this kind of thing better than you. I don't need you to remind me. After saying that, he suddenly fell silent. Xing Hui didn't say anything else. Instead, he pressed the elevator button and the two of them entered the elevator. Little Su, when you go to that place, take care of yourself. After a while, when the elevator was about to reach the floor where Qin Yiming lived, Qin Yiming said in a slightly hoarse voice. Father, don't worry. I used a few years in the Earth's martial arts world to make a name for myself as the Sword Saint. In that world, I'm also known as the Sword Venerable, the Supreme of the Sword Tao. In that world, there are only a few people who can threaten me. That's good, that's good. Qin Yiming said with a slight sigh of relief. Ding. At this time, the elevator door also opened. Across the corridor, Hai Tang, who knew that Xing Hui was coming, pulled her daughter, Qin Yusen, opened the iron door outside and the solid wood door inside, and stood at the door to welcome him. When he saw Qin Su and Qin Yiming arrive, he went up to them with a smile and took the briefcase for Qin Yiming. At the same time, he said to Qin Su apologetically and gratefully from the bottom of his heart, Qin Su, welcome home. Chapter 740. Venerable Xing Hui, is there really no other way? Venerable Xing Hui, can you tell us what that world looks like? Also, can we go to that world like you, Venerable Xing Hui? Shouldn't we hold a meeting to discuss this matter? In the Research Institute, dozens of important figures from various regions, or the most trusted representatives of those important figures, rushed in at the same time and surrounded Xing Hui in the conference room. And these actions were only because of a notice from Xing Hui last night. Alright, everyone, although our Earth Federation has made good progress in this year compared to the previous year, anyone can see that this progress will soon hit a bottleneck. Once it hits a bottleneck, the development of our Earth civilization will stagnate. But even though our development has stagnated, the attacks of the extraterrestrial invaders will not stop. At the latest, in 100 years, the powerful captain of the extraterrestrial civilization, Sauron, a legendary wizard with the power to destroy stars, will truly descend on our Earth civilization. At that time, what will our Earth civilization use to resist? Therefore, it is imperative to find a new way out for Earth civilization. Xing Hui looked at the dozens of representatives in the conference room and said indifferently. These important figures obviously understood that Xing Hui's words were true, but they were already used to Xing Hui, the stabilizing force, overseeing the overall situation here. If Xing Hui suddenly left, without an advanced 10th order life form like him, they would feel uncertain. Venerable Xing Hui, when do you plan to return? After a while, Jiang Xingdao, who belonged to the Wuxia region, asked. After Jiang Xingdao consumed a soul-refining pill, he became one of the few 7th order powerhouses among the humans, and his status also rose. Currently, he had become a high-ranking member of the Supreme Council. If one of the chairmen stepped down, he would be a strong candidate to compete for the next chairman. I have to pay attention to the spatial fluctuations. When I have the chance, I will return, but it should be within the next 10 days. Tsing Hui replied, and after a while, he added, this time, you should understand that I have to leave. Otherwise, our Earth civilization will not be able to escape misfortune. But regardless of the results of this trip, I will strive to rush back within 16 years, which is before the third expansion of the spatial passage. When I return, I will try to bring back as many pills like soul-refining pills as possible. As soon as he finished speaking, the eyes of the dozens of people present all lit up. Venerable Tsing Hui, I'm afraid you have to give us some weight this time, right? In order to complete the black hole model for you, Venerable Qing Su, our Bei Mei region has sent all the top scientists to ancient Jade City. Please, Venerable Qing Su, for the sake of our efforts, grant us some more pills, Jian Chen said. Venerable Tsing Hui, we, the representatives of the various regions who understood the tyrannical power of the soul-refining pills spoke one after another, as if they were afraid that they would miss out on a powerful pill like the soul-refining pill, which could create at least a sixth-order life form, if they were too slow. Alright, everyone, please don't be impatient. It won't be too late to talk about this matter after I return from that world. Tsing Hui waved his hand. Venerable Tsing Hui, if you go to that world alone, won't you be a little weak? Why don't you bring some warriors from Earth with you? They can help you when the time comes. At this time, the representative of the Inha region cautiously suggested. His suggestion also made the people present look forward to it. Unfortunately, Tsing Hui did not hesitate to expose these people's thoughts. The power of spatial teleportation is not something that ordinary people can bear. Besides, opening spatial teleportation requires spatial crystals. The more people teleport, the more spatial crystals will be consumed. A spatial crystal is a treasure that can be exchanged for hundreds of soul-refining pills. Do you think this is an easy task? Hundreds, everyone was shocked and they heard this and did not dare to say anything more. Alright, this matter will be settled for the time being. Everyone, please go back. Tsing Hui said. However, after these people looked at each other, they said at the same time, Venerable Tsing Hui is shouldering the hope of saving the entire Earth Federation. Please allow us to send Venerable Tsing Hui away. Tsing Hui naturally understood the real purpose of these people following him. He immediately sneered. Is that so? Spatial teleportation can cause spatial distortion. If you're not careful, you may turn a radius of more than 10 kilometers into nothingness. If you think you can withstand the power of spatial distortion, then go ahead and follow me. For a moment, no one spoke. Alright, I'm going to make preparations to head to Mount Dongyang and seize the opportunity to perform spatial teleportation. Everyone, please do as you wish. After Tsing Hui finished speaking, he headed to another room in the research institute. In that room, the Greater One Spiritual Master and Yusu Spiritual Master were both present. Tsing Hui directly handed a jade slip to them. There is an important piece of information on it. I have placed a little restriction on it. You can only read it after 16 years. If I can't come back after 16 years, and the Earth Federation cannot withstand the attack of the fierce beasts, you can read the information inside. Here, it records the only way out of our Earth civilization. This. Lord, do you want to give this thing to Marshal Jiang for safekeeping? The Greater One Spiritual Master and Yusu Spiritual Master, seeing that Tsing Hui had handed such a huge responsibility to them, received the jade slip with trembling hands. No, I'm afraid only you can understand the information inside. Tsing Hui said, and then encouraged them, if you can do this matter well, when I come back, I can give each of you a soul-refining pill as a reward. When the two heard this, they immediately clenched the jade slip given by Tsing Hui, and hurriedly vowed, Venerable Tsing Hui, don't worry, we will never let this jade slip leave us for 16 years. Yes, even if we die, we will never let these jade slips be damaged in the slightest. Well, I hope you can do it. Tsing Hui said. In fact, He had not only given this jade slip to the Greater One Spiritual Master and Yusu Spiritual Master, but also left a copy with Qin Yiming, but he had not told Qin Yiming. Then, that's it. After Tsinghui finished speaking, he waved his hand, and under the bowing of the Greater One Spiritual Master and Yusu Spiritual Master, he left the courtyard. Then, without saying anything to the guards in the courtyard, he leaped into the void, and with a full speed burst, disappeared into the horizon with a deafening sonic boom. After leaving the ancient Jade City Research Institute, Tsinghui did not stop for a moment, and directly appeared at the location of Mount Dongyang. As for what kind of reaction his series of actions would cause to the Earth Federation, he did not pay much attention to it. What he needed to do now was to quietly wait for esteemed Master Zhuzhao to reactivate the space transmission formation. Fortunately, esteemed Master Zhuzhao did not make him wait too long. On the third day that Tsinghui came to Mount Dongyang, a circle of space fluctuations had already spread out. As the space fluctuations spread out, it was unknown how many people, including Tsinghui, were concentrating their attention at the same time. It was most likely that the top research institute of the Earth Federation had spent 120% of their strength trying to figure out something based on these space fluctuations. In this regard, Tsinghui may or may not know, but he was too lazy to pay attention to it. As the space fluctuations spread out, Tsinghui patiently waited for the formation of the space channel. However, after more than 10 breaths, there was still no trace of the space channel. Instead, the space fluctuations, after reaching a higher peak, gradually began to decline. What's going on? The transmission formation, is there a problem? Tsinghui's heart skipped a beat. At this critical moment, his brain worked extremely fast, and he quickly focused his attention on the creation divine jade in the spiritual world. The last time he left Earth, it seemed that the power of the creation divine jade had erupted and sent him over. Then this time. Without hesitation, Tsinghui's figure flew and quickly came to the center of the space fluctuations. Then, his powerful mind blasted into the spiritual world, and he did his best to activate the creation divine jade. Accompanied by a stream of light, the space fluctuations seemed to have finally captured his location and exploded in an instant, swallowing him whole and disappearing without a trace. He's gone. Did he really teleport away? Damn it, what kind of method is this? Where's the data? Have you collected any data? As Tsinghui teleported away, countless voices came from the top research institutes. The research institutes of the entire world became extremely busy at this moment. Has there been any change in the space stability of our Earth civilization? When will the next space expansion be? Can you calculate it? It's been calculated. 16 years, it's indeed 16 years. 16 years, he didn't lie to us about this. I hope he can come back in 16 years and help our Earth civilization get through the third space expansion crisis. He will. His father and family are all on Earth. According to the behavioral model and psychological model analysis we have established, Venerable Tsinghui is extremely loyal. This can be seen from how he tried to find Jiang Ningji and is unwilling to give up until now. As long as Qin Yiming is still on Earth, he will never give up on us. Very good. From today onwards, the security of Qin Yiming's family will be raised to the highest level. Tsinghui's heart was filled with regret that he could not find Jiang Ningji until he left Earth, but the crisis that Earth civilization was currently facing left him with no choice but to return to the divine wilderness as soon as possible. Otherwise, even if he had to spend decades, travel to the ends of the earth, and use his mind to scan the villages one by one, he would find Jiang Ningji. Due to the experience of space teleportation, although the feeling of his body being stretched and flattened filled his body, he could still barely maintain his calm and move forward according to the power of space teleportation. After an unknown period of time, the space in front of him changed. The next moment, a bright and spacious cave appeared in front of him. When Tsinghui looked around, he was already on the teleportation array in the ancestral land of the Purple Cloud Palace on the Fortune mainland. Sword Venerable Tsing Hui, welcome back. When Tsing Hui was still adapting to the changes in his surroundings, Venerable Zhu Zhao's voice sounded. Following Tsing Hui's gaze, he not only saw Venerable Zhu Zhao, but also Venerable Tsang Zhen. Although Venerable Tsang Zhen was only in his incarnation. Ha ha ha, I haven't seen you for a year. Tsing Hui, you seem to be in a different world. Venerable Tsang Zhen looked at Tsing Hui and laughed. His temperament was as good as ever. Tsing Hui smiled and was about to say something, but in the next moment, he was slightly stunned. What appeared in front of him was indeed the ancestral land of the Fortune Mainland's Purple Cloud Palace. The scene he saw was also mainly based on the ancestral land of the Purple Cloud Palace. However, in addition to the ancestral land of the Purple Cloud Palace, in his vision, there was another kind of magical phenomenon. Tsing Hui had seen this kind of magical phenomenon when he transformed into the divine beast Kunpeng. Law of space. Only when he transformed into the divine beast Kunpeng could he see the law of space clearly. Moreover, in addition to the law of space, there were many other laws that were not visible but were full of magical phenomena. It was as if an invisible force suddenly opened his vision and directly lifted the layer of gauze that covered the mysteries of the world in front of him, revealing the various structures of the world one by one. Chapter 741. This is, Tsing Hui looked at the clear world in front of him, and his pupils shrank fiercely. Fortune Jade. This was the effect of the Fortune Jade's transformation of the mind. This effect had already shown signs in the world of Earth, but 99% of the vitality and laws in the world of Earth had been sealed by the enchantment supported by the towering divine tree. He could only vaguely sense the remaining 10%, so the change back then was not obvious. But at this moment, when he truly came to the divine wilderness world where the laws manifested, he was shocked to discover that the laws of all things in the world no longer held any secrets in front of him. At this time, if he had enough void crystals and a strong enough spiritual energy to draw in enough law power, he could even construct his own world in a short period of time and advance to the level of a true immortal or true god, an unparalleled almighty realm. Tsing Hui, what happened? Did something go wrong during the teleportation process? Is there something wrong? Esteemed Zhu Zhao and esteemed Master Tsang Zhen immediately became rather worried when they saw Qing Su fall silent after being teleported over. They asked in a hurry. Their question brought Tsing Hui back to his senses. I'm fine. Tsing Hui looked at the many laws that had manifested clearly around him again and sighed. World creation with a thought. World creation with a thought was a pinnacle existence that could truly stand in the universe. World creation with a thought could even be considered a pinnacle existence in the worlds behind the heavenly way and eternity. At best, there would still be a few universe giants in the chaotic realm in their worlds, but there would not be too many of them. Otherwise, they would not have been badly damaged by the divine wilderness in the war with the divine wilderness 10,000 years ago. What a pity, Tsing Hui glanced at his spirit attribute through the Sun of Chaos panel. 149 steps. These Fortune Jade had perfected the transformation effect on the mind. However, the transformation of the Fortune Jade clearly did not target the strength of his mind, but strengthened his understanding of the laws. As a result, his understanding of the laws had soared to the level of world creation with a thought, but the strength of his mind was still one step away from the level of crushing vacuum. It's good that you're fine. Has your matter been resolved? Esteemed Zhu Zhao asked with a smile. It can't be considered resolved. It's just a matter of time. Alright, just let me know when you need me. Shall we head back now? Go back. Tsing Hui nodded and asked at the same time, in this past year, did anything happen in the divine wilderness world? You want to ask if those people from the heavenly Tao have come out to jump around, right? You don't have to worry about that. The heavenly Tao is very well behaved. All the higher-ups are hiding in their headquarters defensive array. Even if they come out, they are very careful. They are afraid of being discovered by us. However, since you and Venerable Zhu Zhao have been on the Fortune mainland, we didn't take the initiative to provoke the heavenly Tao. We let them have a peaceful year. But now that your matter has been resolved, it's time for us to teach the heavenly Tao a lesson. Master Cangzhen replied with a laugh. Xing Hui nodded when he heard what Master Cangzhen said. Not only the heavenly Tao, but also the eternal and the divine wilderness. In another 16 years, the earth would once again face the invasion of the troops sent by true God Aixin's army. Although the earth's current strength had increased, they should be able to resist the third wave of invasion. However, it was better to be safe than sorry. He had to find a way to solve the problem within 16 years and return to the earth. In this way, it was a race against time. In addition, he had to figure out the relationship between the Time King, the Master of Gods, and the Master of Chaos, as well as the location of the star field that belonged to the three great existences. To obtain this information, the inheritance from the ancient divine wilderness, the heavenly Tao from other worlds, and the eternal were obviously the best breakthrough. The heavenly Tao is protected by a 15th-order defensive array. If we want to deal with the heavenly Tao, we can only cut off their wings at best. If we want to completely destroy the heavenly Tao, I'm afraid we won't be able to do it. Unless someone can cultivate the divine true body and rely on the power of the divine true body to tear apart the 15th-order defensive array of the heavenly Tao and kill their way into the heavenly Tao. Xing Hui said. Divine true body, esteemed being Zhu Zhao pondered for a moment. I can give it a try. Currently, I have the originator on me, and you have obtained a world core from that cave. My spatial laws should soon be comprehended to perfection. Next, I will try to condense the divine true body. I estimate that there should be hope within 100 years. 100 years? Xing Hui knew that this speed was already extremely fast, but he only had 16 years. I'll think of another way. Xing Hui pondered. Although it will take 100 years for us to destroy the heavenly Tao, during this time, we can force the heavenly Tao to hide in the defensive array and not dare to act rashly. What's the difference between destroying the heavenly Tao and destroying it? Esteemed being Cangzhen laughed. Don't be careless. Xing Hui looked solemn. It is said that the heavenly Tao has received news from the world behind them. The force behind them is rapidly approaching the heavenly Tao. It is said that it will enter our divine wilderness in a few decades or 100 years. Once the world behind the heavenly Tao arrives, I'm afraid the entire divine wilderness will face a disaster. The world behind the heavenly Tao? The possibility of that is not very high. Esteemed being Zhu Zhao pondered for a moment, then said, Xing Hui, although you have the battle strength of a supreme expert, you are still inferior to us old experts in the ancient legends. According to what I know, when our divine wilderness fought against the world behind the heavenly Tao and eternity, although the entire divine wilderness was destroyed, it was because the battlefield was in our divine wilderness. There was nothing we could do about it, but if we were to talk about the outcome of the war, our divine wilderness was the true victor. The experts behind the two worlds that invaded were almost completely wiped out. At that time, their two worlds were so badly damaged that they probably couldn't even find a supreme expert who could create a world with a thought. Unlike our divine wilderness, the world behind the heavenly Tao and eternity had offended many worlds because of their constant wars. Their vitality was greatly damaged, and there were definitely many worlds that hit them when they were down. Whether they could protect their own world is a problem. Esteemed being Zhu Zhao is right, but don't forget that it has been tens of thousands of years since the last war. In these tens of thousands of years, the world behind the heavenly Tao and eternity has recuperated. Even if it has not recovered to its peak, it is not something that the divine wilderness, which has completely fallen, can deal with. Therefore, we still have to hurry. As Xing Hui spoke, he pondered for a moment, then said, Look, if we join forces with eternity in the divine wilderness, do you think there is any hope of breaking through the heavenly Tao's protective mountain array? It's difficult. Esteemed being Zhu Zhao shook his head. However, considering the foundation of these two forces, he added, but we can try, but you still have to be careful. Don't be used by these two forces and become their hired thugs for no reason. I know this very well. Xing Hui smiled, let's go back to Tianhuang mainland first. It just so happens that my teleportation technique has finished cooling down. Esteemed being Zhu Zhao, I'll have to trouble you to make a trip to my world. What's there to be troubled about? It saves me the trouble of traveling. I can't ask for anything more. Esteemed being Zhu Zhao said with a smile. Immediately, Xing Hui took esteemed being Zhu Zhao directly to Tianxiong's residence in Tianhuang mainland through teleportation. As for Zhang Zhen, he was only in his incarnation and had specially come to deliver the space crystal to esteemed being Zhu Zhao. Although the Fortune mainland was too far away and inevitably faced a period of weakness, Tianxiong now had Xing Hui and esteemed being Zhu Zhao, two supreme experts, and could be said to be at the peak of the sky. No one dared to easily offend them. Even if Zhang Zhen could not fight for a long time, there was no need to worry about any danger. Xing Hui used teleportation technique to teleport to Tianxiong, and the people of Tianxiong who had received the news in advance immediately came out to welcome him. In addition to Tianxiong and esteemed being Yuanri, there was also Sword Master Xingyi from Sword Shadow and True God suffering from Black Flame Cult. Ha ha ha, Sword Venerable Xing Hui is here. Sword Venerable Xing Hui, how is your matter? Is it going well? Since Sword Venerable Xing Hui is here, esteemed being Zhu Zhao should also be here. It's a pity that the people of Tianxiong have completely become cowards during this period of time. Otherwise, we would definitely teach them a good lesson. Several big shots said with a smile on their faces. Obviously, they had been very relaxed in the year that Xing Hui had left. Thank you for your concern. The matter over there has come to an end for the time being. Xing Hui replied. After a while, he looked in the direction of the crowd and asked, why don't I see Sword Venerable being Hidden Sword? Sword Venerable being Hidden Sword has returned to the Hidden Sword sect, saying that he wants to find out some secret to pave the way for you. In addition, Sword Master Bai Heng of the White Rainbow Sword sect is said to have gained a lot from the battle with Chaos Holy Man, so he went into seclusion half a year ago. I think, when Sword Master Bai Heng comes out, there will be a change in the ranking of the top 10 supreme experts. Esteemed being Heavenly Master explained. Esteemed being Zhu Zhao, who had walked out of Xing Hui's personal space, nodded slightly after hearing esteemed being Heavenly Master's words. In fact, if I'm not wrong, Sword Master Bai Heng's battle power when he was trapped in the chaotic primordial realm was not inferior to that of the top 10 supreme experts. He was only at the level of the Jade Emperor Holy Man and the Holy Master of the Bottomless Abyss. If he can gain something in the next half a year, it won't be difficult for him to sit firmly on the throne of the top 10 supreme experts. Sword Master Xingyi also nodded in agreement. Actually, before the Green Ruin Swordmaster appeared, Sword Master Bai Heng was the cultivator with the greatest talent I've ever seen. You can tell this from how the heavens purposefully suppressed the Fogbow Sword sect because of her. If it weren't for the limited resources of the Fogbow Sword sect, she probably wouldn't be any weaker than you, Reverend Zhu Zhao. I believe that. As esteemed Zhu Zhao said that, he glanced at Qing Su in a rather melancholy manner. It really is the new generation surpassing the old. The new generation has surpassed the old. From the looks of it, the divine wilderness will be under you young people very soon. They laughed and chatted, and soon entered the courtyard. Xing Hui also took this opportunity to mention the idea of going to the divine wilderness and eternity. Considering the terrifying battle power that Xing Hui possessed after transforming into the Kuanpeng, esteemed being Heavenly Master added some precautions and agreed. Chapter 742. Whoosh! Xing Hui traveled on his sword on the way to eternity, maintaining an extremely fast speed as he shuttled through the upper levels of the void. Although eternity was an organization of chaos, it had established its own headquarters in the infinite wasteland domain just like the heavenly Tao. At their level, they no longer had to worry about being hunted down by others because of their identity as sons of chaos. On the contrary, others should revere these sons of chaos who possessed miraculous abilities. Under such circumstances, even if everyone knew that there were many top-notch sons of chaos in eternity, who could do anything to them? My chaos level hasn't decreased at all. On the way to eternity, Tsing Hui examined his own condition and looked rather surprised. His primal chaos level was still the same as before he left the divine wilderness world, remaining at level 70. Clearly, although leaving the range of the primal chaos ruler's power would render the various characteristics of a son of chaos useless, the son of chaos's promotion and demotion system would not be affected. After glancing at the characteristics of the sons of chaos, Tsing Hui focused his attention on the fortune jade. After obtaining a large piece of the complete fortune jade, the number of Taoist rhymes derived from it had increased by leaps and bounds, reaching an astonishing 14 points. Compared to the previous value of 2 Taoist rhymes per day, it had increased by a full 7 times. When he calculated this value, Tsing Hui himself was rather surprised. However, looking at the fortune jade that was only a little bit away from being completely repaired, he vaguely understood the wonders of this phenomenon. He even had a premonition that once he truly repaired the fortune jade, the changes it would ultimately produce would definitely far exceed his imagination. At that time, this supreme chaos treasure that represented the immortal civilization would definitely evolve into an unprecedented miraculous existence. Many of the characteristics of the sons of chaos are ultimately bestowed by external forces. Once they leave the range of the chaos sovereign's power, they won't be able to sense the chaos temple and naturally won't be able to borrow the chaos sovereign's power. Their various characteristics will be rendered useless. The trip to Earth is the best example. Therefore, from now on, I can't rely too much on the characteristics of the sons of chaos. My own strength is the foundation of everything. At the thought of strength, Tsing Hui could not help but look at himself. Anything that was related to external forces was ultimately illusory. Only the power that was born within one's own body was the foundation to roam the myriad worlds. In that case, he could only start from the physical and mental aspects. However, essence, qi, and spirit had always been one. If there was only essence and spirit without qi, how could one achieve the glory of the sun and the moon, and the longevity of the heaven and earth? However, qi was something from the outside world and originated from the true yuan of heaven and earth. Once one fell into a special environment similar to the one on earth, there would be no true yuan. No matter how high one's qi cultivation was, what was the point? Qi originates from heaven and earth, and heaven and earth's qi originates from the primal chaos. It's like how living beings on a planet rely on the sun for photosynthesis to grow, and the sun's mass originates from the microscopic substances that are everywhere in the starry sky. If a person doesn't want to rely on heaven and earth and be able to circulate his qi freely in any environment, the only way to do so is to create a universe within his body, a starry sky. That way, the qi in his body can be self-sufficient and grow without end. When Tsing Hui thought of this, he was speechless at first. He felt that this method was very feasible. However, after a moment, he laughed and shook his head. Creating a primal chaos universe within his body and an endless starry sky. It should be known that even existences at the level of one thought to create a world, could only replenish themselves by absorbing the free energy in the primal chaos universe to maintain the stability of the world they created. Creating a primal chaos universe that was self-sufficient and had complete laws was just a pipe dream for great existences at the level of one thought to create a world. They did not even dare to think about it. It's still too early to study these problems at the moment. It's better to cultivate to a higher level as soon as possible and solve the crisis that Earth's civilization is facing. Tsing Hui sighed. He collected his thoughts and glanced around. The space law that was constantly flowing in the void in front of him had become clear and visible. The next moment, he took a step forward. The moment he stepped out, his body seemed to have completely disappeared and directly escaped into the void. When he reappeared, he was already hundreds of kilometers away. If any Saint Stage powerhouse saw this kind of magical power that was close to teleportation, they would definitely be unable to help but cry out the two words, insightful void. Moreover, to be able to perform such a technique that was close to teleportation, it was obviously in existence at the peak of the insightful void realm. Comprehending the space law is truly magical. Tsing Hui's eyes swept around, constantly comprehending the flow of the space law. From time to time, he would seize the opportunity to integrate himself into the flow of the space law and perform a technique similar to traveling through space. His speed was much faster than when he used the light-chasing divine ability. Under such circumstances, even though the Sky Dome base was millions of kilometers away from the Eternal Base, and there were many dangerous places along the way, it still took him less than a day to arrive outside the Eternal Base. The Eternal Base. Tsing Hui appeared outside the Eternal Base. As one of the wealthiest organizations in the chaos, the Eternal Base's protective formation was usually maintained in a half-activated state. In this state, as long as a Saint Stage powerhouse was in charge of the formation, ordinary saints would not be able to gain anything by breaking into it. Once the formation's power was fully activated, even those saints who broke into the formation would have to suffer grievances. However, as Tsing Hui's spiritual world was reshaped by the Fortune Jade, the various mysteries of the protective formation in front of him were no longer a secret to him. Even if the Eternal Base's formation was in fact entrusted to a supreme treasure, and its energy was endless, he only needed to follow the space law and infiltrate the formation, then use his divine art and slash out with the sword of solar eclipse to destroy the formation. Of course, the premise was that the many saints of the Eternal Base did not interfere. That's Tsing Hui. Sword Sovereign Tsing Hui. As Tsing Hui sized up the Eternal Base's protective formation, some Eternal experts noticed his presence, and a small commotion broke out in the crowd. Sword Sovereign Tsing Hui. What is he doing here? We've never offended him in the Eternal Base. That's not necessarily true. It's said that a year ago, we fought with them for the dust cleansing stone in the Comely continent, and the Brilliant Sun Emperor and Black Light Emperor had a great battle with him. The Brilliant Sun Emperor was lucky and has now returned to the Eternal Base, while Black Light Emperor is still roaming in the space mezzanine, and his return is uncertain. Quickly increase the power of the protective formation, and send a message to all the emperors. The current Tsing Hui was probably second only to the Tai Yi Emperor, the Chaos Holy Man, and the Ancient Desolation Supreme God in the entire divine wilderness. Such a person had personally come to the Eternal Base, and had even had a small conflict with the Eternal Base. Naturally, the Eternal Base was in a state of panic. Soon, the Eternal Base's protective formation rose. However, perhaps because Tsing Hui had not offended the Eternal Base, the protective formation did not envelop Tsing Hui. At the same time, 4 figures rushed out of the Eternal Base at the same time. One of them was an old acquaintance, the Brilliant Sun Emperor who had fought with Tsing Hui on the Comely continent. Tsing Hui, what are you doing in the Eternal Base? When the Brilliant Sun Emperor saw Qing Su, his eyes blazed with hatred as if he had met an enemy. If it weren't for the fact that he was wary of Qing Su's strength and the alliance formed by the 4 sects of Heaven's Vault continent, he probably wouldn't have been able to stop himself from attacking. Emperor Qi Xia, Emperor Yan Zhu, and Emperor Xian Qi, is this how the Eternal Base treats its guests? Tsing Hui ignored the Brilliant Sun Emperor and looked at the other 3 Saint Stage giants. Among the 3 emperors, Emperor Qi Xia was similar to the Brilliant Sun Emperor and belonged to the second category of Saint Stage giants. As a woman, it was rare for her to cultivate to the Saint Stage, and she seemed to be the leader of the group. Greetings, Sword Venerable Green Ruins and Crimson Glow. However, our eternal world really doesn't have much of a relationship with your Heaven's Dome world. May I ask why you've come to visit, Sword Venerable Green Ruins? Emperor Crimson Cloud said calmly. There was not much fear in his eyes. Unlike Tao Master Hunyuan, who was only proficient in life-saving and trapping formations, Emperor Tai Yi of the Eternal Base was known to be the best in terms of killing, and his attack power was the strongest in the Divine Wilderness. Why? Aren't you going to invite me in? Hey, Sword Honorable Tsing Hui, if you have the strength and courage, why don't you come in? The brilliant Sun Emperor suppressed his displeasure and mocked Tsing Hui. Tsing Hui saw through the brilliant Sun Emperor's little trick and smiled. Since Master has invited me, I naturally can't refuse. As soon as he finished speaking, he actually ignored the level 13 formation that belonged to the Eternal Protective Mountain formation. He took a step forward, and a ripple spread out from his body. When he appeared again, he had actually stepped into the Eternal Protective Mountain formation. He was only 10 meters away from Emperor Yaoyang, Emperor Crimson Cloud, Emperor Yanzhu, and Emperor Xian Qi Yu. Seeing Tsing Hui suddenly appear, the brilliant Sun Emperor was so frightened that his face changed and he quickly retreated. Even Emperor Qi Xia, Emperor Yanzhu, and Emperor Xian Qi could not help but retreat dozens of meters. After a while, they seemed to realize that this was their home ground and quickly stabilized their bodies. However, they could not help but be shocked. This is a teleportation technique that uses the spatial laws. Due to its extreme speed, it's like teleportation. You've broken through to the insightful void realm? No. The insightful void realm can at most integrate the spatial laws and make one almost invulnerable. It's not easy to use the spatial laws to teleport. The peak of the insightful void realm. You've already reached the peak of the insightful void realm. How is this possible? Damn it. 1 year. In just 1 year, he went from the divine stage to the peak of the insightful void realm. What's going on? Has the world gone crazy? The brilliant Sun Emperor cursed in his heart. Emperor Yanzhu and Emperor Xian Qi were so frightened that their faces changed and they became even more nervous. They could not help but want to inform Emperor Tai Yi and have him come out of seclusion. Fortunately, Emperor Qi Xia reacted quickly at the critical moment and hurriedly signaled for Emperor Yanzhu and Emperor Xian Qi to calm down. Qing Su had paid him a visit openly. If he really was plotting something against the Eternal Realm, he definitely would not have paid him a visit like this and come alone. She took a deep breath and forced herself to calm down. I didn't expect Sword Sovereign Tsing Hui to have cultivated to this level. No wonder he's called the Sword Sovereign. If this continues, it's only a matter of time before he becomes the Divine Wilderness's sovereign. Emperor Qi Xia, you flatter me. I'm just a junior. How could I dare to call myself the Divine Wilderness's sovereign? Sword Sovereign Tsing Hui, may I know why you've come to the Eternal Base? Emperor Qi Xia said the same thing again. Compared to before, there was a clear change in his tone. There was a hint of fear and reverence in his tone. The respect that the weak should have for the strong. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.